And he's like, oh, it's beautiful, Peter. He's like, Aunt May, I'm just going to take a second with Gwen Stacy, okay? He's just like, it's okay, Peter. I'll be back in 25 minutes for my next scene. And Sally Field just wanders off. We'll see her again in 25 minutes, chap. Hello, I just wanted to thank you for clicking on my video, and I wanted to let you know not only do I create content in my YouTube channel here, Class in a Glass, but I'm also on Twitch where I play single-player games, multiplayer games. I do movie reviews, cartoon reviews, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Also, it would be a big help if you can check out my Patreon, where you can gain access to audio commentaries, reactions, and the ability to submit questions for my podcasts and videocasts. And all that content can be found in the links below. In the meantime, enjoy the video. Again, guys, an absolute pleasure to have you here right now. Cheers. Thank you again, Chef, for putting up all the technical stuff tonight. Cheers and salute to you. May the wings of liberty never lose a feather. You're shaking the pillars of heaven as we speak. Cheers and salute, Chef. So now, Batboy, haven't seen either Garfield Spider-Man movies? Well, don't you worry, baby. I'm going to guide you through them. I guided you through The Amazing Spider-Man. I did my scene by scene breakdown for that, and I feel like I was very accurate in my descriptions, and now I'm going to do the same for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. We're going to get into the thick, girthy, nitty-gritty details together, all right? And so without further ado, I figure, let's go ahead, pillars crumble. No! Oh no, please don't crumble. But I figured, like, hey, let's get right into it, chat. I've spent enough time trying to figure all these technical difficulties out today. Juice again, indeed, King Kodiak, indeed. So let's get to it, chat. But before I start talking about this film in detail, I need to ask you guys a very important question. That question being, how many of you have seen The Amazing Spider-Man 2, the second and last chapter in the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man duology? I'm curious, chat. Well, we're shaking them. It's true. So girthy. So thick. I met Spider-Man through the 67 cartoon. Oh, wow. The original one. Spider-Man. He has the theme as a cell phone. I'm like, how did he get that theme? Doesn't make any goddamn sense. Already says me. Electro does want to fuck hard. Wants to fuck Spider-Man. John Elman saw it in theaters. Same. Pictures graphics. I did. Cast Faye. Haven't seen it. Alec. Nope. Yeah. Yep. I heard it on release. Oh no. The boss. Oh, you're the reason. I'll talk about some of the little box office facts of this movie. I mean, I guess Electro knows that Spider asked you were talking. He did. Oh yes, he did. I will say, out of all the Spider people, chat, all the Spider-Men, Toby, Andrew, and Tom. Andrew Garfield, he's rocking some cake back there. He's got a big, thick ass. I was like, God damn. Especially there's this one shot in The Amazing Spider-Man. I'm like, whoa. That's the first thing you see. It's the first thing you see, you notice. I'm like, oh, wow. So, yeah, good for him. I don't know. Gwen's, hey, good for Gwen. Good for Gwen, chat, you know? I like that. Buzzing Gamers, I have 5 out of 10. Steph, only that one time. Howard Burke says, I avoided like the plague, like the bubonic plague. Fair enough. If I saw in 3D, the 3D added nothing. Oh, yeah. Like most 3D. Yes, but I don't remember anything since Summer Baby. Darkstar, I haven't, but I seen that goddamn... It's the Rhino! That's my favorite. Spider! I'm going to crush you, break you! It's me, Rhino! That's all he does. That's all Paul Giamatti. We'll talk about Paul Giamatti. Got them thick spider cheeks. Remember one saw in theaters. What happened? I enjoyed how Spider-Man did love webbing on the bridge. And my argument was so dumb. I love you, Gwen. Hey, at least it didn't say Gwen. But it was like, wait, Gwen Stacy, the one who's dating Peter Parker? Oh, Peter Parker's Spider-Man. One positive I will say about this movie, chat. He does not take off his mask nearly as much as he does in the first film. He's taking that off everywhere. It's like, Peter, you have a secret identity. What are you doing? Here, that mask for the most part remains on. He almost fucks up. And a lot of the villains kind of assume certain things. Some of the villains they're like, oh, I know who you are. They figure it out very quickly. Especially Goblin, especially Harry. He's like, what? Ah! Oh, man, we'll talk about Harry Osborn and his zombie goblin disease. I'm like, what is this? He's literally turning into a zombie throughout the movie. And Chris Cooper, he's all goblin by the end. It's like, whoa. It's fucking nuts. Oh, chap. Again, a pleasure to have you here. Like all of you, I too have seen this movie, Chad. I saw this in theaters, and like I think a lot of people, I was disappointed by it. You know, I can say if I was like I was upset. Like I wasn't upset. Like the first movie I thought was just kind of so banal and boring and just it's spinning its wheels. And this I kind of expected that with this one too. I was like, okay, what else are you gonna do different? How are you gonna improve on it? And you know what? The movie seems to be trying to make that attempt throughout the entire time. I just like notice a lot of things like this version of Peter Parker and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, he seems to be a little bit more, he's not as dark, he's not as gritty, he's not as mean, I would say. Like, you could say, like, in the last movie, there was, like, a little bit of a mean-spiritedness to his Spider-Man. He was more vigilante, if you will, than superhero, a lot more Batman-esque. Here, he's definitely a lot more fun-loving, and there are scenes in this movie where he's very much a hero of the people. Like you know, I'm going to be negative for a lot of stuff in this film, but I can tell where Mark Webb is like, I really want him to have a connection with the people of New York and also for the people that are often brushed aside or ignored. And I'm like, I like that. I like that. There are a number of scenes in here that do that well. The action, I think, is a little more visually interesting than than Spider-Man and the Lizard battling each other. Because after a while, it's like, you can't really do much with when the two of them are battling, because it's like, all right, just gonna throw each other around and crawl on walls. Like, I like the school battle in the last movie. Outside of that, it's like, I don't care for any of this. Like, here, you get all different types of battles. You get him where he's doing his thing in New York. You get him when he's fighting Electro. You get him when he's fighting the Green Goblin. You get him when he's fighting the Rockin' Rhino. You get a lot. You get a variety, whether it's good or not. You know, at least visually, it's like, okay, you're changing it up. It's always something a little different. I like that. So those are kind of like the positives overall for me. And they changed the suit again, so it's not as, like the other suit looked very much like handmade, but they do go more towards the Raimi. Like, this is the Raimi suit for the most part. Like, there's some slight alterations to it, but it's pretty much the Raimi suit. But I still have, like, the overall issues with it. Like, I hate the fact that the eyes just don't move, and there's no expression. Like, I always, like, in the comics, you always think of, like, Spider-Man in the comics, like, yeah, we know he's wearing that mask and everything, but the eyes are constantly change different size and surprise, and you squint and you question things like, oh, that's cool. And so I love that they captured that with the Holland Spider-Man, like making them, like they're literally like they have shutters on and that they change in size and certain. I was like, that's cool. And here, I think the suit's okay. It's fine. His voice is strangely muffled. You're right. People are like, I guess it's always been in all the movies, really. But here it is particularly muffled. Like, I understood what he was saying, but I did take note of that. I was like, that surprised me. But what this film does, the mistake it makes, Chad, are similar to the mistakes of Spider-Man 3. Also, get the 100 biddies. This movie stinks. I don't like it. Spider-Man 3 is better than this. Fair enough. I will say, thank you, 100 biddies, though. I will say, like, this movie does make a lot of the same mistakes as Spider-Man 3, where it has way too many villains. None of them get enough time of development. You don't really care about any of them. They rush certain things. They rush subplots and character motivations. And it's all half-baked. It's all under-baked, chat. And even the thing I really liked about the original film, like, one thing I say consistently, like, I really enjoy the chemistry between Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. And their scenes in the first movie are all great. Anytime they're on screen together, I love their chemistry. I love their interactions, like how physical they are with each other. That's really cool. Thank you. You really are a hero. Thank you so much, Hype Man, for the follow. You're my new Huckleberry. Welcome to the stream. Currently viewing The Amazing Spider-Man 2. But as I was saying, chat, so I like their chemistry, right? They do it very well. Now, that's in this movie, but they do this weird fucking thing that I found very frustrating. One, there's not nearly enough scenes with them. It's a very long movie, and they break up like 3 or 4 times in the film. Like, they'll have a scene when they're kissing and they're fucking, and then he's like, I can't see you anymore, Gwen. Dennis Leary's ghost is haunting me. And then Gwen will be like, Peter, I'm moving to England. I can't see you anymore. And this happens not once, not twice, not 3, 4, at least 4 fucking times. It's always after a scene, right after a scene when they are just smooching or flirting, and I'm like, it's too much. To stop it. Why are you doing this? It's frustrating to watch because I like both of them. My whole thing, I talked about this during my audio and video commentary chat. I thought would have been very interesting is for this movie in particular, because it does some fucking retconning Well, believe me, especially when Harry Osborn, of course, who I'd known for my entire life, except it wasn't mentioned in the previous film, or that you had any type of intimate connection to Oscorp outside of your mom and dad. He's like, oh yeah, I haven't seen Harry since I was 10, but we were the best of friends. Like, what the fuck is happening? But I thought it would have been interesting had they had it where Peter and Gwen are deeply in love with each other. They're more committed to each other now more than ever. You know, they're going to college together, but he already is planning, like, we're going to get fucking married. We're going to have a bunch of babies. She's on board for all that. That's going to be great. Harry Osborn comes back into their live chat years later, you know, and he has the, you know, yeah, even his scene with Peter, even his scene with Andrew Garfield, like the initial one when they're interacting, it's like, I bought the chemistry. I liked how they were not enough. It was just a scene. And then the next scene, fucking Harry's like, give me your blood, Peter. Let me suck out your blood. And he's like, what are we talking about here? But had it just been the three of them and his desire to save his own life because he's dying from zombie goblin disease, I think that would have been better. And then because he's so angry and because he's so demented and driven insane by the disease that he ends up, you know, causing the death of Gwen, that would have been tragic. Instead of having fucking Electro and Rhino and this whole conspiracy with Oscorp, it's like it's too much. It's too much, and it takes away from the relationship between the three of them, which I feel like this should be the focus of the film. Because Electro, he's in and out. You don't give a shit about Electro. You don't even care. And he's ridiculous anyway. But that's kind of just my 2 cents, if you will, what this movie, how it could have improved if it really just focused on the three of them. Made that a little stronger. Makes sense. Her moving to England. Her variant is Cruella de Vil. I guess so. There you go. I think she was, I love the Rhino. Oh, you don't get that much of him, though. You don't get that much of him. But yeah, movie came out. Very mixed reviews, I would say. It has its fans, no doubt, but I would say mixed and negative. It's the lowest performing Spider-Man film of all time, chat. Had a budget of about 200 to 300 million, which is like, what do you do with the extra 100 million? Had a box of about 709 million. And so they had planned to do a third one. They planned to do a Sinister Six film. They planned to do all sorts of spin-offs and things, but eventually they scrapped all that, and they inevitably rebooted it and had Disney involved in the creation of a new Spider-Man. That's how we got Tom Holland, chat. So this movie's failure birthed, if you will, front pooped out the adorable Spider-Man that is Tom Holland that we all love and cherish, chat. So that was the result of this movie. And the ideas for spinoffs, eventually that became the Venomverse, if you will. That became Venom 1 and Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, and Morbius. That was how that happened. And, you know, you got to also think about it, too. You got to think about it too, Chad. Like at the time this movie came out, we were neck deep in the MCU. Avengers had happened. Well, I think, but Guardians of the Galaxy was already out, and we already had Captain America, the Winter Soldier. It's like these were, you know, this is the upper echelon of the MCU. These are some incredible movies or something. And by the time we got this film, people were like, they just weren't into it, Chad. It's like, when's Spider-Man going to hand out these guys? And Sony's like, well, I mean, he's going to do his own thing. They're like, nah, we want him to hang out with Iron Man, Captain America. And I think it's just all these things. Even, yeah, X-Men Days of Future Past, it's true. It just wasn't capturing the audience's attention. And that's why they have to make that huge change and make that deal with Disney, which I think has led to something better. Again, I think Andrew Garfield gets a lot of blame for this. It's not his fault in any capacity, and I think he's kind of bitter over the whole thing. He's talked a lot of shit since then, even now with No Way Home coming out. And I don't blame him. He was just a cog in the machine, Chad, in the Sony apparatus. Sony, they were more focused on building a franchise and spin-offs and creating a universe that they were thoroughly incapable of doing by themselves. And he was just caught in the middle of it. And so I don't blame him in any capacity. Thank you, by the way, the stranger shoe for the 5 days comb over Jimmy Fox. Oh, Jerry Curl comb over. I was like, what the fuck kind of hairstyle is this? But yeah, chat. And that is just kind of like the general perception and a little bit of the box office history in regards to the Amazing Spider-Man 2. But now, chat, let's get to the start. We start with Peter's parents, chat. His dad is typing on a computer, okay, at home, and then he hears his son calling for him, and he's like, Mary, let's grab the kids. By the way, I really do notice that Richard and Mary Parker, they're kind of old parents. So I imagine they did all their science, secret agent stuff, like at a young age. And, you know, Mary, she's like, God damn it, Richard, I'm 45 years old. Let's have this kid. And they had him, but, you know, they're going to be old parents. Like, he's going to be 75 by the time Peter is, like, 20. I believe. But then we see it again. It's like, hey, remember this from the original movie? It's like, yes. They changed the kid, by the way. It's not the same kid. They thought we didn't notice, but I did notice, Chad. I did notice. And they drop little Peter Parker off at Uncle Ben and Aunt May. And Aunt May's like, when are you coming back, Richard? And he's like, I don't know. Just, take care. And, like, Peter goes, like, put his hand on, like, a handshake. And Richard's like, goodbye, son. Be good. And then, new Peter 2.0, he watches his parents leave. We then cut to an aeroplane chat where Richard and Mary Parker, they're escaping to Geneva. Apparently, that's what we've been told. And she's like, "Hey, Richard, are you uploading all the secret files on Oscorp to your secret subway lair?" And he's like, "That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm uploading all the files to the secret subway lair." And he'd go, "Boop," but it's taking a while, chat. Meanwhile, she's like, "I gotta go to the bathroom." He's like, "No problem, do your thing." So she goes to the bathroom, and then the pilot walks out of the cockpit, and he goes, "Hey, how you doing, Mr. Parker? How's the travels? Everything going okay?" He's like, "Oh, it's busy as always. I understand that. Hey, do you need anything? Let me know. Hey, where are you guys going? Where are you guys going?" It's like, "Shouldn't you know where we're going?" He's like, "Yeah, I guess so. Hey, what you working on?" And he notices that the guy's hands are just lathered in blood. And he's like, "Well, that's probably not good." And he's like, "Oh, sorry, ketchup. Spilled ketchup on myself. Just clean these off right now. Hey, do you guys need anything? Do you guys need any food, condiments?" Can't ask for ketchup because that's gone. I'm here to kill you. And it's like, oh, he's an assassin. He's an assassin. Somehow he snuck on board, chat. And he's like, "I'm going to kill you." And he locks the bathroom door. So Mary Parker, she's just in there with her farts at this point. And she's like, "Richard, help me. My farts are in here." And he's like, "I can't help you. There's an assassin on board." And he's like, "You got to stop the upload." Okay. By the way, the best Wi-Fi on that plane of all time. He shuts the laptop computer. And he's like, he's putting this like fucking parachute on. He's like, "I'm sorry it has to be this way, Richard. Norman Osborn sends his regards." Norman, back to formula. And then Mary Parker, she just couldn't stand the smell of her own farts. She bursts out of the bathroom like a mad woman and tackles the guy, and they're fighting over the gun, chat, as Richard opens up the laptop and starts the upload, not helping his wife with the assassin. Nope, chat, I'm gonna hold on. I gotta put my password in. Okay, it's uploading again. And then, fucking poor Mary, as she's fighting the assassin, shot in the gut. Oh, shot in the gut. She's not doing well. Richard, he then starts, he grabs, like, I don't know, like a bottle of champagne, and he, like, hits the guy over the head, and he's like, "Well, that's the end of you. Clearly you're not going to get up since I hit you in the head with a bottle of champagne, and I'm not going to even bother to grab the gun at this point. Who cares? It's over." And so he helps Mary into her seat, but her tummy's all falling out. All the tummy juices, all the tummy blood everywhere. And he's like, "Listen, just hold your tummy. I'm going to buck you." She's like, "Okay." The assassin! Drums! Thank you for the 500 biddies, drums. It's actually not my birthday. I shouldn't have made that post. Thank you, though, for the 500 biddies. That's very kind of you. So the quote that I had for today's review, which is The Amazing Spider-Man 2, is "Happy birthday to me," which is what Max Dillon sings to himself before he becomes Electro, before giant electric eels go down to his throat and give him electricity powers. And so it is now. So I appreciate that, drums. Thank you. Yeah, I was like, oh, people are going to think this is my birthday, isn't it? But no, I appreciate the generosity. Good to have you here, by the way. But the assassin, he's up. And he's like, "Richard Parker, you should have double tapped, baby." The thing is, though, the fact that the assassin was prepared to shoot Richard and Mary, it's like, that's kind of dumb. Shouldn't you think of a different way to kill these guys in the plane? Because what if you shoot the window and you depressurize, you get sucked out? Well, that's eventually what happens, chat. Because at one point, Richard, he grabs the guy's gun. He finally does, and he shoots out the window, and the cabin begins to depressurize. All the fucking windows start everything gets sucked out and stuff. And so he's battling this guy, and the guy wraps around a seatbelt around Richard Parker's neck. He's like, "Oh!" But then eventually Richard Parker, he kicks him really hard. And he goes, "Ah!" And he gets sucked out of the plane, and he hits the tail of the plane, and he splits in two. It's like, Jesus, this is fucking nuts. This is crazy. And so at that point, Richard Parker, I'm like, are you going to jerk off? He's like, ah, because he's looking at his wife who is definitely dead, Chad. She's like, she's got like one eye open. She's like looking at him like this. So she's definitely dead. And he fucking doesn't go to sit with his wife. Doesn't go to cradle her body as they plummet to Earth, dead. Because he killed the pilot earlier. No, the greatest Wi-Fi in the world on this plane. He opens up the laptop. Put my password in. All right, upload's back. And he starts uploading it again for the second time. And eventually the upload is complete, chat. But then as he smiles, he looks over his wife as the plane continues to plummet towards Earth. And it's like, I guess he died. I guess they died, chat. We assume. The filmmakers didn't know. I'm going to tell you what one of the hidden endings was to this movie, chat. One of the original endings they didn't go because the audience was like, fuck that. Even though it would have been kind of interesting and cool, but it doesn't make a lot of sense, especially how we saw it. But then we cut, and it's Spider-Man plummeting Earth. He's just like his mom and dad before they died on impact, chat. He's plummeting to Earth at this point, and everyone in New York loves him. It's like, look, he's the Spider. They call him the Spider guy. He's the Spider guy. My name's Spider-Man. He's like, do a flip. Yeah, everyone's having a great time. And he gets a little ring-a-ding-ding, chat, from Gwen. Gwen's asking him, Peter, why aren't you at graduation? You got to get your ass over here. We're graduating high school, okay? You look like you're 37, so you got to get going. He's like, I'll be right there. I'm just taking the bus. And he's like, I hear sirens. Do I hear sirens? And he goes, no, it's fine. Just tell her that you're fucking fighting crime, because that's what he's doing, chat. Apparently, this character named Alexei Smirnov, who is the Rhino, Paul Giamatti's a Russian mobster. He has hijacked an Oscorp truck, and him and his fellow Russian goons are stealing some glowy orange formula. We don't know what it is. But he's like, I got to stop Alexei Smirnov from stealing all this stuff. And so he's web swinging and everything. He's taking all these guys out. And all Paul Giamatti for many years was adamant about, I want to play the Rhino in a Spider-Man movie. And we're like, why? Why him, though? Why Paul Giamatti? And he was like, maybe he loved that character as a kid. He's like, for some reason, I just want to play this character. He is so over-the-top, campy, and Rhino. He always refers to himself in the third person in the film, chat. Either as, you're scared of Alexei, yeah? I'm coming through, yeah? And that's all he does in this thing. Or he refers to himself later on as like, I am the Rhino. I'm going to charge you, Spider. That's it. He's got all these fucking tattoos and stuff. He's in like a complete sweatsuit, all one color. It's like, okay, I get it. He's a Russian gangster stereotype. But, Spider-Man, he's doing his thing. He's fucking webbing all these guys up. Eventually gets in the back of one of these cars, chat, that the Russian guys are stealing. And it's filled with, like, Oscorp. And this is kind of cool, this scene. I like how this plays out. Where he's trying to grab all these vials one after the other. Like, boop, 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 boop. And he's trying to, but one, of course, jumps. He's like, are you kidding me? Eventually goes out there, webs up all the formula, webs up that single one. And he continues after Alexei, Chaz. The police take care of the two other Russian mobsters. But, chat, there seems to be a new character entering the film, and it's Max Dillon, chat, who will later become Electro. Now, when Jamie Foxx was initially cast, I thought, okay, that's interesting. Not who I would originally thought of, In the comics, Max Dillon is white. I was like, his race doesn't matter. There's so little to Electro in the comics, chat. I mean, he used to be an electrician engineer. He was hit by a lightning bolt while making repairs to some machinery, or I think even to some power lines, and he got electricity powers and decided to go, hey, I want to steal money. That's pretty much what Electro is in the comics, so you can do whatever you want with him. He's a very generic, kind of dull villain, in my opinion. So I was like, okay, Jamie Foxx, talented guy, great actor. He is one of two Academy Award winners in this movie, chat. First time we had an Academy Award winner who played Spider-Man villains. Won Academy Awards. Like, okay, that's cool. Along with Chris Cooper, of course. He's a talented actor, singer, comedian. I'm sure he's going to do a great job. And what they have him do here is ridiculous. As I said before, chat, he is a combination of Jim Carrey's Riddler from Batman Forever and Urkel from Family Matters. Those are the two characters, like, combined, where he has this comb over Jerry curl. He has this huge gap, and he's constantly just talking to himself, and he has this goofy score, and we'll talk about his score because it changes over time. Like his score in this is like do 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 do, like he's like a tuba behind him, and he's carrying all these blueprints. He's like, "Excuse me, I must get to Oscorp. I'm a very important person. Doesn't anyone see what I'm doing? Can't they see that I'm important?" And then eventually someone who doesn't give a shit about him, they knock him over, and all his, "My blueprints, no!" And he's trying to pick up all these blueprints, chat, while fucking, Paul Giamatti is like, "I'm going to crush the black guy." And he really wants to crush that black guy, chat. He's like, I'm aiming right at him at this point. He hasn't killed a black man today, chat. And Spider-Man's like, "There will be no blackifice on my watch." And he swings over and he grabs good old Jamie Foxx, chat, Maxwell Dillon. And he's like, "Whoa, Spider-Man, I can't believe it's you. You smell amazing." He's like, "How you doing, Max? You doing okay?" He's like, you know who I am?" He's like, "Yeah, man, that's your name tag. I see your name tag. Spider-Man knows who I am." He's like, "Yeah, man, here. Oh, do you need your stuff? Are these your blueprints?" It's like, "Yes, they're very important details. I'm working on an electrical grid that could possibly power New York City with eels." And Spider-Man's like, "That's cool, man. Hey, here, hey, ton out. And this is something like really shitty. And it's something really shitty to him. He's like, "Hey, man, ton out." He's like, "Ah." He's like, Spider-Man puts his hand on Jamie Foxx's ton, and he combs over his Jerry curl a little more. He's like, "Hey, Max, you're important, dude. You're my eyes and ears on the ground, okay? You let me know if I need to know anything like the rest of the people of New York City." He's like, "I'm important to you, Spider-Man?" "Hell yeah, man, you all are." And he swings off. He goes, "I'm important to Spider-Man. Oh, I can't wait to jerk off later." It's like, I'm sorry, chat, but you find out how obsessed Max Dillon is with Spider-Man. It's fucking creepy. It's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. For whatever reason, Jim Carrey's Edward Nygma, the Riddler, is obsessed with Bruce Wayne, with Val Kilmer's Bruce Wayne. You don't really know why he is. He's like, I guess he's just handsome. Like, he wants to fuck him. He wants to fuck Spider-Man. Chaz, like, oh, okay. He's a creep. He's a super, and that's interesting. The thing is, I'm like, you know what? That's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea because, again, Electro, he's not much of a character. Outside of his costume, outside of his power set, there's really nothing to him, and so I can see what the writers and Mark Webb are like. We want to do something different with Electro. He's not just a thug in a costume with electricity powers. And so let's make him a crazed fan, an obsessed fan. The thing is, that could have worked, but why make him so goofy? Why give him the huge gap? Why give him the Jerry curl, comb over? There's certain things that I'm like, these didn't need to be here. Like, why did you want to create like a 90s era Batman villain and put him in a modern Spider-Man movie, the 20-teen Spider-Man? It doesn't make any sense. And so it's like, I could kind of see what they were going, but they got lost in the woods. They were like, "Okay, I see the path. Oh shit, you took a left turn that I just can't follow you with." So I'm not opposed to the idea of making Electro this crazed, obsessed fan who, wants to fuck Spider-Man. I think that's fine. It's the other shit that I'm like, you don't need any of this. You don't need any of it. The comb over is legendary. You remember the comb over. But he's like, "Oh, Spider-Man loves me." And he continues on. Meanwhile, he's still on the phone with Gwen. She's like, "Listen, I got to do the speech, so you better get your keister over here, okay?" He's like, "I'll be right there, Gwen." And so Gwen Stacy, she gets up on the stage. And she starts doing this speech where it's like, we don't have a lot of time left. We had these short 4 years of high school, and I'm sad to say that I might never see you again, and that breaks my heart. But we need to pursue our dreams, and we can't let anything stand in our way. We love each other. We have so many great family members, so many great significant others, and we are blessed for that. But we're not here forever. I mean, who knows what happened? Something bad might happen to any of us, even me. But we have to live life to the fullest. It's like, she's just like, "Listen, everyone, I'm going to die in the movie. I'm just letting you guys know." It's like, this speech is very ominous. Like, okay. Eventually, Peter, while he's chasing after Alexei Smirnov, we get to one of my favorite running gags in the film where he's like this is actually a funny scene where he collects all the vials and things. He's talking to Gwen, and at one point he turns around and he goes boom, and he's hit by a police car, which I think is kind of funny. He goes woo, and thinks he's like running the police car like that. It's actually not bad. But he looks immediately to his left, and Dennis Leary is just glaring at him from the police car like, did you watch Rescue Me yet? And as we all know, chap, Peter Parker has never seen a single episode of Rescue Me. But fucking Dennis Leary randomly pops up in the movie like several times, and all he does is, did you keep the promise to me by not dating my daughter? And of course he broke that fucking promise, Chad. He's been dating Gwen for however long, like the past, I guess like a year. No, it's 2 years. It's 2 years after the events of the original film, Chad, when the lizard tried to turn everyone into lizard people. That's what they say in the movie, 2 years. So I guess he was a junior in high school at the time. And he's like, but for whatever reason, all of a sudden he starts feeling guilty because he constantly sees Dennis Leary. Eventually, thank you, boss, for you better not be fucking my daughter. He is fucking her. There's no doubt about it. Love Rescue. I do too, Lisa. Peter Parker, not so much. But he's like, well, that was kind of creepy seeing Dennis Leary talk about Rescue Me and me fucking his daughter. But he swings after the truck, and he stops the truck. But then, Alexei Smirnoff, he runs out. He's like, get out of my way. I'm going to bulldoze you over. And he bulldozes people over. And Spider-Man's like, get out of here, Alexei. You need to stop. He's like, Spider, you wish to stop Alexei Smirnoff. I stop you. And he starts shooting him in slow motion. He's dodging the bullets in slow-mo. And he basically takes the gun away. And Smirnoff is like, I will kill the spider. I'm like, I'm not exaggerating any of this performance. As a matter of fact, I think I'm kind of being a little understated when I'm talking as the Rhino, Chad, or as he's called in this, Alexei Smirnoff. Eventually, he starts webbing his hands to either way, so he's kind of like, I'm stuck, Spider. He's like, yeah, Rhino, or yeah, Alexei. And he actually pulls down his pants. He's like, I'm going to just leave you for the boys in blue, where he's actually wearing Rhino underwear, which I'm like, this guy clearly was destined to be the Rhino. And he throws the gun up into the sky, and he's like, I will kill you, Spider. You have not seen the last of Alexei Smirnoff. And then boom, and the fucking gun lands in his head and knocks him the fuck out. But it's like, okay. And that's it. He doesn't come back until the end of the movie, Chad. He's in the very beginning, and he's at the very end of the last 5 minutes, Chad. Why anyone would want to hire him to be a part of the Sinister Six, I don't know, but that's what inevitably happens. We then cut to the graduation ceremony where they're doing the diplomas. Aunt May's concerned. Fucking Gwen's mom, her fucking brood, they're all concerned at this point. But Peter, he goes ahead. He swings in. He takes the mask off. Like, oh, shit, almost forgot I'm wearing the mask. Takes it off. And he gets up on that graduation stage, Chad. And he starts shaking people's hands, kissing babies. Shakes Gwen's hand. He goes, come here, girl. And just dips her, Chad, while smooching. Everyone's like, it's so hot. And Stan Lee's like, I know that guy. I know him from somewhere. Excelsior! It's like, okay, Stan, thank you. Not as good as his previous cameo in the Amazing Spider-Man, which actually is quite funny. The one where he's in the library listening to music while the Lizard and Spider-Man are battling each other. That one was pretty good. This one, he's like, I know that young boy from somewhere. Yeah, he's Spider-Man, Stan. We know. And so after the graduation, Gwen and Peter, they're being all handsy and stuff, and he's taking pictures with Aunt May. And Aunt May, Sally Field's like, I'm back in the movie, everyone. I have a couple of scenes. And she's like, Peter, oh, you look so handsome, Peter. Gwen, stand next to him. And she's like, okay, Aunt May. He's like, okay, everybody, say cheese. And, cheese. And he's like, oh, it's beautiful, Peter. He's like, Aunt May, I'm just going to take a second with Gwen Stacy, okay? He's just like, it's okay, Peter. I'll be back in 25 minutes for my next scene. And Sally Field just wanders off. We'll see her again in 25 minutes, Jeff. She is so underused in this film. It's a shame what they do to poor Sally Field. She deserved to be treated better. But he's talking with Gwen about graduation, their plans. She's saying, like, why didn't you, because her whole thing is like, why didn't you tell me that you're doing Spider-Man stuff? I mean, we've been over this like multiple times. He goes, I know. I just didn't want to make you worry, and I didn't want you to come over. It's like, well, Peter, I mean, just feel free to do so. It's okay. You goober. And again, their interaction here is very cute. It's very adorable. But eventually, Gwen's mom is like, Gwen, we're going to take a family photo. Get your keister over here. And she's like, okay, Mom, I'll be right there. And she's like walking over, and Gwen's mom is like, hey, Peter, come over here too. You're part of the family. You know that. I was like, that's really sweet. Because you're like, oh, it's kind of awkward. Like the boyfriend, girlfriend, you're going to be part of the photo. But I like that Gwen's mom. Good woman. She's not in many scenes here, chat, but she says, Peter, your family, you get over here too. You and Gwen are in love with each other. I know. I hear you fucking every other night. And so, but he's about to go over there, but Dennis Leary shows up, and he's just like, did you watch Rescue Me yet? No, Dennis Leary, I have not watched Rescue Me in between me fighting Oleski Smirnoff and graduating high school. And he's just looking at Peter like, don't come over here, goddammit. And Peter's like, oh, you know, I'll be back in a bit. Gwen's like, what are you talking about? Let's take a picture. She's like, Aunt May, she wandered off again. You know her. You know Aunt May, dumb old Aunt May. She didn't get no education, just like my Uncle Ben. I'll see you guys in a bit. And she's like, okay, well, dinner at the Chinese place that we like. No, she said, no, yeah, it's the Chinese place. He's like, yeah, 8 p.m., got it. I got it. Eastern Standard Time. She's like, yep, that's right. He's like, cool. And so after that chat, Peter is just haunted by Dennis Leary, who is like, I feel so guilty, even though I haven't thought about him for literally 2 fucking years. He's Madam Web. That would be great. He's like, hey, Peter, I'm the web girl, and I don't know, I control fate and destiny and different dimensions. I don't know. Don't fuck my kid, all right? And he's like, okay. But apparently, Peter's been thinking about this today, and he's decided, I'm going to break up with Gwen Stacy. Because Dennis Leary, now I understand if you're haunted by Dennis Leary constantly for multiple hours of a day, and it's because of the person you're seeing, it's like you consider like, okay, I gotta stop this. And I think maybe the best way in order for, you know, this ghost of Christmas yet to come, Dennis Leary, getting away from me is to stop dating his daughter. So I kind of understand his idea here. But he goes to the dinner, and he's standing outside, and he's all like, he looks like confused, sad Andrew Garfield, who has this expression throughout the movie, just like that. And Gwen Stacy's like, well, I know that expression. And she goes outside, and she goes, what's wrong? What's going on? He's like, listen, I'm sorry, but we can't do this anymore. I can't. And she's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm always going over the fact that you're constantly in danger when you're around me. I'm fighting fucking supervillains. I fought a lizard guy. She's like, we handled the lizard guy, okay? Dr. Kirk Connors is in jail. And he's like, I know, but then there was Alexei Smirnoff, and he thinks he's a rhino. And I don't know, Gwen. I don't know. I think we gotta see other people. I'm sorry I'm breaking up with you. She's like, no. And then she's like, this whole thing. It's like, apparently he's done this before. He's kind of like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's like, you've done this to me before. You're not breaking up with me. I'm breaking up with you, Peter Parker. And she walks away, and she just stuffs herself full of Chinese food. Because you'd be sad. You were like, I'm going to eat Chinese food all day. So I'm with you, Gwen Stacy. And then we get the Spider-Man montage where he's like, now I'm going to concentrate on college. And I guess he's also living with Aunt May still. He's concentrating on college and Spider-Man stuff. We see Spider-Man throughout the seasons doing his thing across New York. We actually get some funny scenes, too. Like him like buying his fucking milk, chat. Buying his milk at the convenience store. He's like sick. He's got flu medicine and stuff. And I actually like this whole montage here. We also get another one, which is actually my favorite little montage bit, where we see this nerdy kid being chased by like 5 or 6 Stephen King bullies. And Spider-Man sees this, and he's like, I gotta stop these Stephen King. And they destroy his like diorama of a wind turbine, and they smush it. And then Spider-Man just shows up, and the bullies fucking scatter. It would have been amazing if he just beat the shit out of them. I would have loved that. But the kids, oh, Spider-Man, he's like, hey, man, are you okay? You doing okay, kid? Is that oh, that's so cool. Is that a wind turbine? Oh, we can fix this. And he fixes the kid's project for him by using his webbing. And he's like, hey, what's your name? He's like, I forget what his name is. Like, my name is Jack. He's like, your name's Jack? Hey, my name's Spider-Man. Hey, I'm going to walk you home. He's like, really? He goes, yeah, come on. And that, I'm like, that was cool. that's what I'm talking about, like some of those moments where he's really connecting with the people in New York. Hey, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. And I thought that was a super sweet moment. And I really dug that. Naya Brownie, hey, shut up, I'm doing your maths over here. Also, hi, Naya Brownie. I'm reviewing The Amazing Spider-Man 2. It is fun. But then, chat, we move on. We move on from that very wholesome scene, and we get into something that's kind of fucking weird, where even though, so it's implied that it's like a year later, like the timeline for this movie is confusing to me, but it sounds like it's been like a while since, at least a year, him and Gwen have seen each other. So it's like, okay, but what he constantly is doing, Chad, he's fucking stalking her. He's a spider stalker, where he's constantly following her around town and like looking at her and stuff. She's like meeting people for dinner or like study meetings and things. It's like, okay, this is a little weird, Peter. Like, he's clearly still obsessed with her, but then fucking Dennis Leary will always be there glowering at him like, hey, did you watch Rescue Me? He's like, no, I didn't, and I'm not fucking your daughter. He's like, good, don't do that. And so that's, it's been rough on him, but it's been weird. We also got a lot of scenes of Peter trying to avoid telling Aunt May that he's Spider-Man. Like, there's this one scene where he comes home, he's exhausted, collapses in the bed, and he's like still in the spider suit. Then Aunt May comes a knocking because she's like, Peter, you gotta drive me to get my prescription, Peter. I need it. And he's like, oh, Aunt May, hold on. I'm like really naked, Aunt May. He's like, get out here. I've seen you naked, Peter. And it's nothing to go on about, believe me. And she eventually gets in. He's under the cover. He's like, Aunt May, I'm like naked. He's like, well, get up. Well, why are you so dirty, Peter? He's all dirty in his face. He's like, I was cleaning the chimney, Aunt May. And he's like, we don't have a chimney, Peter. And he's like, oh, really? And she's like, get up, Peter. Jesus. He's like, I love you, Aunt May. I love you too. Now hurry up and get going. Eventually he comes downstairs, and, Aunt May's cooking. And also she's trained to be a nurse now, chat, now that, that Uncle Ben's dead. And she's can't cook her meatloaf for him anymore. She's like, well, I got to do something with my time. And so she's trained to be a nurse. That's what she's doing, Chad. Also to bring a little extra money. But Peter comes down. He's like, I'm just going to do my laundry. And she's like, no, Peter, I do the laundry in this house. He's like, I don't want you to do my laundry. I don't want you to clean my dirty underwear. It's gross. He's like, I've been cleaning your underwear. I've been cleaning out those skid marks for years, Peter. And I'm going to keep doing it. And she goes to the laundry, but he wants to wash his costume. And I don't know why he just didn't go to a fucking laundromat to do it, Peter, but okay. And he's like, no, Aunt May, no. She's like, I won't let you do the laundry, Peter. Last time you did it, everything turned red and blue. I was washing the American flag, Aunt May. No one does that, Peter. He's like, are you sure? Well, maybe I really care about the American flag. And for whatever reason, these movies, fucking Peter or Spider-Man is always associated with the American flag. I don't get it. I understand it in the first movie because 9/11 had happened, and they're like, we need an American superhero, and New York was attacked, and so I understand that. But it's always followed the Sony Spider-Mans for years. It's been weird to me. And you turned it all red and blue, and I won't let you do the laundry. And he's like, you know what? I'll just do my laundry later. I'll do my laundry. She's like, I ate your breakfast, Peter. I've made you wheat cakes and sausages. He's like, Aunt May, you feed me too many wheat cakes. You feed me too many Jimmy Dean sausages. I need a vegetable, Aunt May. I need a vegetable. You don't need it. And it's like, even in this fucking reality, chap, even in this goddamn reality, Aunt May still cooking, still making goddamn, rice cakes for fucking Peter, wheat cakes, and also Jimmy Dean sausages. It won't stop. That's a consistent thing in all reality, chat. I wonder if the Marissa Tomei is also making the Jimmy Dean chat and the wheat cakes. It's fucking nuts. Look, I was thinking, Betty, let me do your laundry, Peter. I've seen all the skid marks and cum stains. Nothing can surprise me anymore, Peter. And they're watching us. Fly away. Hell yeah. And so he eventually leaves, and it's like, well, after that wonderful scene, let's cut to Maxwell Dillon. Let's cut to Jamie Foxx. And he's entering Oscorp, and he's like, I got a very busy day. I got to make sure that the electrical grid and the eels are working right. But chat, he's accosted by BJ Novak, who you've seen before. He plays Ryan in The Office. He's one of the writers of The Office. He was in Inglourious Bastards. I didn't realize this. It's like, oh shit, he's Alistair Smythe, who is the creator of the Spider Slayers. I didn't pick that up the first time I'd watched the movie. I was like, oh, fuck, it's Smythe. That's kind of cool. Does he do anything? Does he build a Spider Slayer in the movie? No, but he is there. And he's like, fucking Jamie Foxx's boss. And at this point, like, they're walking in, Maxwell Dillon's like, excuse me, Mr. Smythe, I just want to let you know that we got to be sure to massage the eels and make sure that they improve the electrical grid. I mean, I did design it after all. And then Smythe turns around and says, you designed the $1 billion electrical grid that's providing New York City with clean electricity via eels? And he goes, yeah, that was me. He goes, yeah. Oh, thank you. Jason, thank you for 10 biddies. Appreciate that. Welcome to stream. And he's like, oh yeah? Well, I'm Spider-Man. And fucking Jamie Foxx freaks out. He says, don't you fucking besmirch his name. Don't you dare besmirch his name. And then he cuts. It was like it was in his imagination. He goes, ha, ha, ha. And then Smythe's like, take care of it, Max. And he's like, oh okay. And he walks in, Chet, he goes into the elevator, and he's all talking about how, oh man, no one respects me, and I'm really mad about it. Oh God, one of these days is gonna be good. Oh, actually forgot, Chet. Oh, I totally forgot. Before he goes into work, he has a birthday, Chet. So you want to know a little bit about Maxwell Dillon? Well, you fucking find out. So before he freaks out on BJ Novak, we then cut from, the laundry and chimney scene, and we go to Max's apartment where every fucking wall from all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom is covered in Spider-Man memorabilia, chat, pictures of him. And Max, he's like, oh, it's going to be a great day, Spider-Man. Can't wait to team up with you again to save New York City, protect the citizens who care about both of us. And he's just going, he's shaving. He's like, he has like pomade put in the Jerry curl, chat. And guess what, Spider-Man? What is it, Max? It's my birthday. Oh, it's your birthday. That sounds great. Happy birthday. I didn't get you a cake, though. That's okay, Spider-Man. I got myself a cake. And he goes to his fridge. He opens up the fridge, and there's a little cake where it's in the classic Electro colors of green and yellow. And he's like, happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to Max. And he starts eating it. Serial killer vibes. It's like, whoa. And again, this would have been interesting if they made Max kind of like I like the idea of him being obsessed with Spider-Man and maybe serial killer vibes, but I didn't need the fucking comb over Jerry curl, the huge fucking gap, and he can't keep food in his mouth because it keeps slipping through his gap all the time, chat. So it's like, oh, that's why he's so emaciated and skinny. But that's when he goes to work, and that's when he accosts BJ Novak. And he gets the elevator, chat, and he's like, no one respects me, but this city will soon learn that they will respect Maxwell Dillon when they know that my best friend is Spider-Man. But then the elevator's about to close, and Gwen's like, oh, excuse me. And he's like, oh, and he holds the door open for her. And she goes, oh, thank you so much for holding the door. Most people would have let it close. Well, most people don't care about people like me. And she's like, okay. And she's just so weird. She's like, well, I appreciate you for holding the door, Max. She's like, how do you know my name? You have a name tag. He goes, oh yeah, name tag. Yeah, that's right. And she notices he has this tablet that says happy birthday to Max. And she goes, oh, is your birthday? And he goes, how did you know? It says your name on it. He goes, oh, yeah, it's my birthday. Because I think the 10 minutes, Junior Fox in this movie ran so Travolta the fanatic could have snored pretty much. Yeah, thank you for the 10 minutes. He's like, oh, yeah, my friends, all my friends made this flyer for me, and we're going to have a party after work, and celebrities are going to be there and stuff, and, it's I would invite you, but it's a closed list. So she goes, oh, well, I'm jealous. Wish I could be there. He goes, I know you're jealous. And she's like, okay. And eventually they watch that's the other thing too, because it's voice operated. So she's like, oh, I'm going to go to the floor. She's like, I can do it for you. And she's like, oh, I'm going to go to floor 63. And he's like, Karen, go to floor 63. Right away, Maxwell Dillon. That's my name. I know. And so it goes up, and then it starts playing like there's a TV in there, and it shows footage of Spider-Man saving the day, and he goes, oh, look at him. Look at Spider-Man. Look at him go. Isn't he amazing? And she's like, yeah, no, he does a lot of cool things. And she's like, oh, it would be just incredible just to fuck him. I mean, get to know him. Don't you think? She goes, yes to both of those things. Yes. Mm-hmm. And eventually she steps out of the elevator because she's like, I used to know and fuck that Spider-Man all the time. And she goes, well, see you later, Max. She's like, she remembered my name. Bye. Oh, the elevator's closing. Bye. All right, bye, Gwen. Bye. And it closes. And it's so fucking awkward. Only Spider-Man is invited to my party. It's like, okay. Chris Actors Electro's top tier right now. Thank you. Again, the crazy better than the movie. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. Thank you for the 10 biddies, too. And so we move on from fucking that. And it's like, okay, well, we got Max, we got fucking the Rhino. Who else is here? Harry Osborn enters the movie at this point. Chat, by the way, we were only like 25 minutes in. There's a lot of fucking movie left. Harry Osborn, played by Dane DeHaan. He's like, hey, I did a comic book film once. I did Chronicle. It made my fucking career. What's the worst that could happen? Poor Dane DeHaan. But he's come back from boarding school. He's been abroad, chat, for over 10 years, a decade. Actually, no, fucking Andrew Garfield says 8 years, actually. But it's a decade, goddammit. Don't be fucking cute with me, Peter. But he's been abroad for 10 years, hasn't seen his father in 10 years, and he meets like with the current kind of head of the company, placeholder head of the company, and he's like, I must warn you, Harry. He has gotten very gross since you last saw him. And Harry's like, hey, man, I'll take him how he is. And he's like, I must warn you, the room is also very dark, so he looks even more creepy and evil. He's like, okay, cool. And he goes inside, and there's this big fucking lavish king-size bed where there's a figure laying down in it. It's like, okay. And he parts the curtain, and what we see is fucking Chris Cooper in zombie makeup. And he's like, oh, Harry. You've come back to me. And I guess he has some disease. They say what it is, but he has zombie goblin disease. That's what he is, chat. Where his skin is rotting away. He's completely fucking green, and he has talons for hands. He has these, not like his fingernails grew really long. No, he has fucking goblin talons. And Harry's like, whoa, Jesus. Dad, are you okay? Do I look okay, Harry? Back to formula. No. He's like, you don't look okay, Dad. He's like, oh, it's been so long. I don't even recognize the man who's in front of me. That's because you sent me to boarding school when I was 11, Dad. I've been traveling Europe forever. I don't know who my father is. I've given you everything, Harry. Your brilliant mind, your unlimited resources, your wonderful complexion. He's like, yeah, Dad, but you never once said you love me. I remember, what was it, 2 Christmases ago, my birthday, 2 birthdays ago, my gift, your gift to me was a bottle of scotch which said, thank you, Norman Osborn. That was it. If you even sent it, or was it the secretary that did it? Oh, Harry, so ungrateful. I haven't just given you this company. I have also given you my disease. And that's the big reveal. Is that, and he's not really being even like, oh, Harry, I feel sorry for you. He's like, ha ha, you have zombie goblin disease too. I imagine your hands are shaking, Harry. And fucking Harry's hands are indeed like, oh, they're shaking. It started around the same time with me when I was your age. It'll start with a twitch, but it'll end with this. He's like, he's all falling apart and stuff, but he's like, I have something for you, my son. You may have this USB drive. It contains all the information for the rest of the film and the setup for the Sony Spider-Man universe of characters. You have the Goblin suit, you got Venom, you got Vulture, Yeah, Dr. Octopus. Fuck that guy. Fuck him. But you got him too. So, at one point in the movie, when you're bored, just read it and it'll solve your problems and set up franchises. So many franchises, Harry. Luke, thank you, 2 minutes. It was always stupid to me because I don't know why the fuck. I didn't just go full Ultimate Goblin and have him look badass. So he shows him a fucking troll doll. That's what he does. Oh my god, we'll talk about that in a bit. Because they want to have it both ways. Like they do the actual mutant Osborn, and they also do the glider Osborn. It's like you're going back and forth. They do an amalgamation of both, and neither. It's like this doesn't work. And Chris Cooper, who is in this one scene, and he's like, "Do it, Harry. Live for me." And he dies. He fucking dies right there. He's Harvey Firestein as Goblin. That's pretty much what you get. And he just dies. And then there was some viral marketing, or there was like a cut scene when you see Chris Cooper's head in a jar. It's like, all right, I guess they've pickled him. They pickled Norman Osborn, chat. So you got that. It's like, okay. Fair enough. Well, after that wonderful little meeting, chat, we then cut to Peter. He is taking pictures of Spider-Man. He's sending them to the Daily Bugle via email, and he's like writing to J. Jonah Jameson, who does not appear in the film. He just writes to him, and he says, "Hey, Mr. Jameson, I just want to let you know that I've taken pictures for Spider-Man for the past 2 years and sent them to you, but he hasn't done any of the horrible things that you keep saying in your paper. Just kind of ease off." And then JJ responds and says, "Wrong!" And it's like, okay. But then he sees in the news that Norman Osborn has died, and we get this montage of Chris Cooper, who is not all weird and gross looking, but it's like, "I've built this company with my own 2 hands, and I am proud of each and every single member of it. We have done so much great work, and I am happy that my son, Harry Osborn, a 20-year-old, is going to take over a $200 billion company. Well, everyone, Godspeed." And I was like, oh, he did the line. Funny. Eventually we cut, and we're with Electro, and it's the day everyone's wrapping up. Well, hey, Osborn just died. We're gonna go out for fucking beers because fuck that gross guy. Who's with me? And they're like, okay, cool, let's go. Oh, Max Dillon, you actually have to stay behind to do all our work, okay? So you gotta fix the electric eel power grid thing. There's a nozzle. There's a tube that untubed itself. You gotta tube the untube. And he's like, I will, but that's dangerous. I don't think I should do that by myself. He's like, you can handle it, Max. Okay, it's your birthday, all right? It's my gift to you. He's like, that's not a great present. And he's like, God damn it. And so he has to go into the eel room that provides power to all of New York City, chat. And he goes by it. And he goes up this ladder, and it's like all the power's on. He's calling this guy. He's like, "Hey, Reggie, I need you to turn off Sector 7 because I need to put the tube back in because it's untubed." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm getting a beer right now, Max. Do it yourself." He's like, "But it's on. It's very dangerous. I could electrocute myself." He goes, "Just fucking do it yourself, Jesus." And he's like, "Well, fuck you then." "What the fuck? You say nothing? I'm sorry." And then he goes up on the thing and he goes, "Well, this is a great birthday for Max Dillon. Well, I guess I'll just sing myself a birthday song. Happy birthday, dear Max. Happy birthday to me." And the gap is on full fucking display. And he plugs the tube back in. He goes, "Well, that wasn't so." And he fucking gets electrocuted, chat. And he falls all the way down into the eel tub. And you don't want to fall into the eel tub, chat, because the eels don't like you. And they're like, "There's a black guy in here." And they freak the fuck out. And they start biting him, electrocuting him. And one literally shoves itself. It's like, "I want you to eat me." It literally, "I'd rather be vored than live here." Like self-vor down into the throat of Maxwell Dillon, Chad. It's like, Jesus. Okay, it's a little extreme. We then cut from the eel vor. And where are we? Oh, yeah. We're now with Harry Osborn, who is a 20-year-old kid who has been put in charge of a $200 billion company. And he's having a meeting, and he's like, listen up, you old fucks. I'm in charge. The millennials are taking over. And they're like, Mr. Osborn, I think we should actually just talk about the situation. I mean, there's many projects that Norman was in charge of, and that I was in charge of, and we have experience, but we're here to help. He's like, fuck you, old guy. Hey, hot girl that's sitting at the end of the table. She goes, yeah? He goes, what's your name? My name is Felicia Hart. Felicia, you're in charge now. And she's like, okay. And so Felicity Jones was cast as the character of Felicia. Is it Felicia Hardy? We don't know. We assume it's fucking Felicia Hardy at this point, chat. All of her scenes were cut out of the movie. She's here in this first scene, and then way late into the movie when Harry's turned into a zombie goblin. That's it. She was supposed to have a lot more scenes. There was a romance between Felicia Hardy and Harry in this movie. Totally, all that was cut out. Every single bit of that was cut out, chat. Along with a lot of other things, like the scene with Mary Jane was cut out of the movie, chat. So much content. There were different endings. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't, but she's famously, Felicia Hardy, her alter ego is the Black Cat, chat, who is a supporting character, villain, and hero in the Spider-Man comics. She allegedly is getting her own movie from Sony someday. It was like a Black Cat, Silver Sable movie in the works, which is weird because those characters don't really interact with each other, but it's like, okay. So we'll see one day, but all of her stuff got cut out. And it's weird because Felicity Jones wasn't just like, she's not like some schmuck. She had already been in some other movies, of course. She was already a known name. But here it's like, we're going to cut out all of your stuff. And you get two scenes. You get two scenes to sit at that fucking table and look pretty. And then you provide some exposition to gross Dane DeHaan at the end of the movie. And that's it for you. And she's like, okay, at least I got paid. And so he puts Felicia in charge of Oscorp. She's like de facto in charge. She answers to me, and then you answer to her, guys. And they're like, we take umbrage with you. He's like, do you have bazungas like her? Then shut the fuck up. But then his butler comes in. He's like, Mr. Harry Osborn. He's like, what's up, Jeeves? What do you got? Or Bernard. It's Bernard, chat. He's back. He's like, there is a guest for you who's arrived to see you. He's like, I'm busy. His name is Peter Parker. He's like, Peter Parker, my best friend from when I was a kid, the kid who I have a really close emotional attachment to because he was like my only true friend. We're totally not retconning this, right? He goes, yes, sir, that Peter Parker, and you're totally not retconning this. Cool, I'm going to go see him. And so then Peter's waiting in the foyer for Harry, and Harry's like, I can't believe it, Peter, you're here. It's been over a decade since I've seen you. He's like, it's actually been 8 years, Harry. He's like, okay, whatever. And he's like, well, Peter, I'm sorry I haven't really talked to you in like all that time, or, what do you need, man? What can I do for you? He's like, nothing. I came by because I want to talk to you, man. I heard on the news that your dad died, that Norman Osborn died, who I guess I also knew, but I never made any indication that I did know him in the last movie, so we're retconning it, Harry. He's like, I know we're retconning it, Peter. But he's like, well, you want to go hang out and skip rocks in New York? He goes, that sounds fun. And so then they go outside, and they start talking about their problems. Harry's talking about his dead dad and how he turned into like a zombie goblin. He's like, yeah, it was gross. It was really gross. And he's like, it's rough, buddy. I broke up with my girlfriend, Gwen. She works for your company. Oh, really? Oh, man, I'm sorry. I mean, why'd you break up with her? He's like, it's weird. It's complicated. I mean, well, it seems like you didn't want to break up with her, man. Maybe you should get back together. I think that'd be good for you. And he's like, you know what, Harry? That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. He's like, hey, I'm here to help, man. Want to go skip rocks? Boy, do I. And they start skipping rocks. And I will say, I'm being facetious here, but I actually do like this one scene where Andrew Garfield and Dane DeHaan actually have a relationship. I feel the chemistry between them. It's not enough because after that, they're at each other's throats. Like immediately after this scene, they fucking are like manipulating each other and like lying to each other. It's like, come on. But this wasn't too bad. Wasn't too bad at all. But they're skipping rocks, and they're talking about, like, how great their childhood was together, even though, Harry's dad was a dick. And Harry's apologized, like, I'm sorry that Norman never provided for you or interacted with you. He shut himself in when he became a zombie goblin. And Peter's like, hey, man, that's what you do when you become a zombie goblin. Like, I get it, man. It's like, hey, at least we got each other. And Harry's like, yeah, for now. And he's like, that was a little ominous. We then cut to this black SUV where the evil corporate guy, whose name I don't know, he was originally in charge of the company when Norman was all still alive and gross. And he's like, sir, we have this file here. There was an accident at the Oscorp facility. And he's like, who is this guy? And we actually, it's pretty gross. So they've emptied out the tank, and like Jamie Foxx's body is just covered in like eel jism, and it's horrifying. It's like, he's all calcified. It's like, oh, gross. And he's like, the eels attacked him, and they went inside of him, and he's dead now. And he's like, well, this can't get out that, you know, this guy created, one, he created the electrical grid, and two, that the electric grid is powered by fucking eels, because people will I guess it's a secret that no one in New York knows, that eels give them electricity, chat. And so he's like, make sure the body is disposed of, and make sure that Maxwell Dillon is eliminated from all Oscorp systems. Make it that he never existed. Ooh, boy. That's not good. Eventually, we cut to the morgue, where no one's at the morgue, chat. I guess you dump the body there and we'll just leave out of sight, out of mind. That's that. Even though they're literally burning a shit ton of bodies in the background, like the morgue doors, like, you know, the crematorium doors are all open. Every single one of them, there's burning shit. It's like, shouldn't you close that? Because the smoke will come in. No? Okay. And, you know, the fucking body bag gets up, and Jamie's in there. He's like, "Ah!" And he is burnt to a crisp, chat. He's really gross. He looks like a turd. He's like a calcified turd, chat. And actually, it's not bad effect. I kind of like this, where he starts breaking out of the calcified turd body that he was in, and you see his blue body. So the blue body is they didn't go of the classic yellow and green starfish mask, even though that's clearly what they're doing in the new movie, which I'm very happy about. This one is the ultimate version of Electro, chat, from the Ultimate Spider-Man, Brian Mendez's run, which I'm not opposed to the design. It's a slick looking design in the comic, but I don't think it translates very well to the movie. If anything, when you look at Jamie Foxx, he just looks super ashy. Like his lips are like super, like they're blue and white, and he looks really ashy. It's like, you need just some aloe, dude. He needs all the aloe in the world, chat. But he's fucking freaking out because, you know, he's made of electricity now, and he's like, he just needs some lotion. And he starts, you know, moving around and starts powering up all the inanimate objects. And he's like, ugh. And then we start to get something where I'm like, we see hints of his new score. So before it was like a goofy tuba, here it's dubstep, and it's like whispering, where they use things that he said previously in certain scenes and incorporate into the music. Is like, I am mad, I am gross, I will kill Spider-Man. And like, I was like, what the hell's going on? He molted. And he's like Ashy Larry. He's Ashy Larry with electric powers. That's what he is now, chat. But his fucking music is some of the funniest shit you ever heard. He's like, I hate everyone. Everyone pay attention to me. I hate Spider-Man. It's like, what? And so he steals some hobo clothes, chat. And then he goes outside to find help or something, you assume. Eventually, Peter, or I forget who contacts who, it doesn't matter. Peter and Gwen contact each other, and they meet at the docks, if you will, chat, this boardwalk, and they're hanging out, and they're flirting, and they're cute, because they're Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, and they have great chemistry with each other, chat, and you just want to see them smooch. But, you know, Gwen and Peter are like, hey, we're just friends. Even though we've been fucking each other for 2 years, we're just going to forget all that, and we're just going to be totally platonic friends. Now, I'm not saying that's impossible. I'm not saying that's impossible, chat, that you can date someone, be in a relationship with someone, and then, well, we're not doing that. We're just going to be friends. But most of the time, I think it's pretty difficult, I want to say. And the fact that, you know, they clearly still love each other, like, we have boundaries now, even though they're so handsy and touching each other and, like, flirting. It's like, give me a fucking break. But they go get ice cream because Gwen loves ice cream, and Peter likes ice cream too. And she's like, well, let me tell you what I've been doing, Peter. Like, I've been going to this great Korean place. He goes, oh, yeah, I know about that place. Yeah, I know, it's your favorite. And he goes, well, how do you know about the Korean place? And he goes, he totally lets slip. He totally fucking lets slip that he's been stalking her. He's like, I've actually been following you. And she's like, how long? He's like, only once every day. And he's been following her every single day, 7 days a week. And you think like, okay, that's really fucking creepy. Get away from me. Leave me alone. No, she's like, really? And she smiles. And she smiles like, you have? There's a chance for us. At that point, I'm like, you got to get out of here, Gwen. And she's like, well, why have you been doing that? He's like, it's because it's the closest I can be with you without being with you. And she's like, Peter, I just wish we could. But before they can finish that fucking conversation, chat, dubstep. We hear dubstep all the way at oh shit, not Madison Square Garden. God damn it. Help me out here, chat. Board all the billboards, everything's glowing. It's like the middle of it's that famous spot in New York. God damn it. I can't believe I forgot. I can't believe I'm blanking. I'm blanking here. Yeah, where they bombard you with ads, chat. Times Square. Thank you so much this time. Times Square. And so we cut to Times Square, chat, where the Electro is just wandering around glowing. No one bothering to, like, hey, are you okay? No one's like, get the fuck away from creepy, ashy Electro Larry. And so he sees all the electricity in the world. And he sees these big fucking wires in a grate right in the middle of Times Square. He opens both of these up. He's like, I need to eat. And he starts sucking up all the electricity. Everyone's like, whoa, what's this guy doing here? And the cops show up and they're going, hey, buddy. Oh, gee, it scared myself. Snow Miser scared me. New York cars are Vokers. I know. I fucked it up. I know. I can't believe I forgot. Thank you, though, for the bitty. He starts sucking up all the electricity, and this cop goes like, hey, yo, yeah, blue guy, take it easy there, drop the cable. He's like, no, I won't, I need it, my name is Max. And he's like, I don't care what the fuck it is, you don't care what my name is? Oh! And he fucking freaks out, and all these other cops start pulling up, and everything are going, freeze, man, freeze, get on the ground. He's like, no, stay away from me. No, oh, my name is Max. And then this person starts to film with this camera, and he sees himself, and he's like, oh, it's me. I'm important. That's me. I'm over there. You all see me. And eventually Peter's like, he swings in as Spider-Man. He's like, okay, who the fuck is this character? But the cops are like, hey, take him down. He's a fucking freak. They start, he's like, get away from me. And then he does his electric blast, and it blasts all the cars away. And this one, like, cops are like, there are a lot of people. Electro kills a shit ton of people in this fucking movie. A lot of people died because of Electro. He has a huge body count. I mean, Lizard, I don't think Lizard only killed like a couple of you. Electro kills possibly hundreds of people in the film. But all these cars and cops are flying in the air. Eventually, this one car is like gonna crush this cop. But this good scene where Spider-Man grabs the car in midair. He's like, "Hey, you doing okay?" He puts the car down, and Max sees. He's like, oh, Spider-Man, it's so good to see you. They were all being mean to me. You know who I am, right? He goes, yeah, you always remember. You don't remember me? On the road, you saved me. You said that you knew me, that I was your eyes and ears, your sole eyes and ears. He's like, oh, yeah, blueprints. He's like, I had blueprints. I had all the blueprints. Yeah, man, yeah, you're the guy. Max, your name's Max. He's like, you do know my name. He's like, yeah, man. Hey, what happened to you? He's like, oh, let me tell you. The eels. It was the eels. They went inside me and they bit me. But now I'm famous. He's like, okay, that's cool. He's like, well, tell them not to point their guns at me. I don't like it when they point their guns at me, Spider-Man. It's like, oh, okay, Max, that's fine, man. Don't worry. No one's going to shoot my very good friend, Max. No one's going to shoot you, buddy, okay? We're just going to talk. I'm going to talk. And I will say, I do like the fact that he tries to talk to him. He's like, hey, I'm going to calm you down. I don't want to fight you right now. Let's just talk to each other, okay? He's like, hey, but the thing is, also, Gwen manages to run like 75 blocks and gets there very quickly. I'm like, I don't know how the hell she got there. But she hears Max saying his name. My name is Max Dillon. She's like, wait, I know Max Dillon. I remember you. But Peter's like, okay, well, no one's going to shoot Max. We're just going to have a nice conversation. The cops are like, yeah, fuck that. They're like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It's like, come on. You know it's Spider-Man. Come on. And so they're ready to shoot this Electro chap. And they got these snipers positioned. They're like, I got a clear shot on him. He's like, hold on until Spider-Man gives the signal. And Spider's like, listen, Max, we're going to go and talk, okay? Don't walk over here, because Spider-Man notices, like, there's this big old, like, bench. It's all made of fucking metal, like this, like stadium seating, a little like far back, and like if he steps on the grate, then he'll electrocute all the fucking people on that huge bench over there. And it's like, listen, we're just gonna go this way. We're gonna go back down there. We're just gonna go talk. We're gonna get you some help. He's like, okay, Spider-Man. Okay, I trust you. He's like, cool. And so when he takes a step back, he steps in the wall and he goes, oh, and he's like, he fucking raised his hands at me, shoot him, and they fucking shoot him, chat. And he fucking Max, Electro. He doesn't call himself Electro yet, but Max, he freaks the fuck out, and he just shoots at the cop and disintegrates him, chat. And this brings down this huge fucking billboard that Spider-Man has to say like a bunch of these other cops. But Electro's like, fuck this, I'm gonna fry me some piggies, and he starts attacking everyone, chat. We see the slow motion scene where Spider-Man has to save all these civilians, but because of Electro's electricity powers, it disables part of his web shooter's chest. He's like, fuck, I can't use this anymore. So he's only down to one. He eventually saves a bunch of people, and he takes a fire hydrant, swings it, hits Electro with it. He goes, ah! And he falls all the way back into one of the billboards in Times Square. He's stuck up there. But then he takes these two wires and he puts them right on his nipples. He's like, oh! And he absorbs all the electricity in Times Square via his bazungas, Chad, his nips. While Spider-Man's like, oh, how am I going to defeat this guy? And so Electro's like super powerful now. He's just like zapping people. It's like, you know who I am. You will know who I am. I am Electro. And before he can finish saying his name, Spider-Man hits him along with the fucking firefighters, him with this giant spray of water from the fire hose. He's like, oh! And he falls down. They capture him. And he's like, all right, guys, good job. Let's fucking book him. Like, at that point, like, Spider-Man, you should probably go over and talk to Max and see if he's okay and try to fix the situation. He goes, nah. It's done. And Electro is gone for a lot of the movie at this point. We don't really see him again for a while. He'll come back up in a bit when he goes to Ravencroft, but that's kind of it for Electro for a good hot minute. He then goes over to Gwen, and Gwen is like, Gwen's like, Peter, that was amazing. He's like, it was amazing. I am the amazing Spider-Man, but we can't be together, Gwen. What if you were hurt here? How did you fucking get 75 blocks to Times Square? She goes, I ran. Of course you did, Gwen. But we can't be together. We are breaking up again, and they break up again. It's like, okay. Eventually, Chad, we cut to Peter. He's home. He's at home, and he's very sad, and he's listening to sad emo music, and he's like, I can't sleep. I'm thinking about Gwen, and I'm horny, but I don't want to jerk off because I'm also thinking about the other plot line with my dad and my mom, and we haven't really touched on it in a while. So I'm going to pull a Charlie Day from Always Sunny in Philadelphia and just have like a big wall covered in pictures that don't make any sense. And he does just that. He makes a big old wall filled with pictures that don't make any sense. Pictures of his mom, pictures of his dad. He uses Bing. He uses Bing again to research his dad because he doesn't know anything about his dad, chat. And he has to figure certain things. Oh, yeah, because he also opens up the briefcase. He's trying to put things together, these clues, like something to do with Roosevelt, something to do with the subway system, something to do with Oscorp. It's like, what does it mean? What does it mean? He doesn't understand. Eventually, we cut to Harry Osborn, and he is at a desk. And he's like reading, he's just reading like a blog or something, but then he starts to feel like a little gross. He's like, ugh. And he has this giant, gross goblin zombie pimple on his neck, and he just chooses to just like burst it and goes, and he's like, oh, it hurts so much, but he's already turned into goblin zombie. It's like this, his disease is accelerating faster than his father's already did. And I guess once you pop a zombie goblin pimple, you just feel the need to then build a franchise. And so he pops open the USB drive his dad gave him, and he's like, okay, there's the goblin suit. For whatever reason, we built a goblin suit that has healing capabilities. Cool. Dr. Octopus tentacles. Cool. All right. Vulture wings. Cool. Oh, there's a file on Spider-Man and Richard Parker and my dad and how they created these bioengineered spiders that will, if they bite you, they self-heal you. But as we all know, chat, at least we're told, the spider bio division was shut down. So I need me some spider venom to fix my body. But I believe that Spider-Man was bitten by one of these spiders, And so therefore I need him. It comes out of fucking nowhere. It's like, oh, wow, all right. It was just he just like, I popped my pimple and I'm gonna do some reading into this file, and he just found all this shit. It's like, okay. We then cut to Peter. And he's done looking at his Charlie Day Always Sunny in Philadelphia wall. He's like, okay, if I ever battle Electro again, I need to make sure my web shooters don't explode when they get in contact with an intense amount of eel electricity, chat. And so he does all these, which I do like that he experiments with all this stuff, the batteries and things, and they all blow up in his face, and he can't get it working. Like, how can I prevent my web shooters from exploding? He can't figure it out. Eventually, he falls asleep, but then he's called by Harry. He's like, Peter, I need your help. And he's like, what time is it, Harry? He's like, I don't know. Is it late? Is it early? I've been up for a while, Peter, but I really need to see you right now. I think it's very important, Peter, that you come to Oscorp. And he's like, all right, I'll be right there. And so he goes to Oscorp, and Harry's looking even more zombie and goblin-y than ever, chat. He's like wearing ascots and like scarves to cover his pimple neck. But we know there's zombie pimples under there. And he's like, Peter, I'm sick. I'm dying. And he's like, oh no, Harry, what can I do? I need Spider-Man's blood, and I need to inject it into my tummy. Therefore, it will eliminate the zombie goblin disease. And Peter's like, yeah, I don't know if Spider-Man would be up for that. He's like, why? Why wouldn't he want to help me? Doesn't he help people? I mean, I'm literally dying. He goes, and for whatever reason, Peter is fully against giving his blood to Harry, because I guess it's because of his experience with Dr. Kirk Connors. And he's like, well, I don't want to share my blood with anyone and have them experiment on it. But at the same time, this is supposedly your best friend who you've known for a very long time. And you're like, nah, I'm not going to help you, Harry. And he's like, but Peter, it could be the only thing to save me. You know Spider-Man. But, I mean, look what happened to Dr. Kirk Connors, the way that he used his blood to almost create, like, a lizard people. He's like, Dr. Kirk Connors was weak. I'm not weak, Peter. I'm smarter than he could ever be. And I need your help. And he's like, all right, Harry, I'll talk to Spider-Man. Good, Peter. Because it'll be the last thing you ever do if you don't. He's like, excuse me? He says, nothing. I'm not turning evil all of a sudden. And it's like, okay. Eventually, we cut to Gwen, who's hacking into Oscorp files, and she's trying to look up Max Dillon. He's completely erasing the systems, but all the hackers, or all the web security, they pick this up, and they're like, someone's trying to look up Maxwell Dillon. It's Gwen Stacy. We need to eliminate her, capture her, and then murder her. It's like, wow, okay. And so they lock her out, and then she tries to escape. But then she bumps into Peter, and he's like, Gwen, what's going on? She's like, I think my employers are trying to kill me. And he's like, oh shit, let me help you. And they hide in a closet, and she's like, even though we're broken up and we're very close to each other, I don't want to kiss you right now, Peter. And he goes, yeah, sure you don't. And then they start kissing. And it's really cute and adorable, and they're handsy again. It's like, just fucking what? Constant breakup. No, we're together again. Breakup, we're together again. But they're fucking kissing as these morons outside are trying to look for them, even though you can easily hear the fuck noises they're making in the closet. But they finish fucking, and he's like, listen, Gwen, I'm going to distract the guards for you, and then you can sneak out, even though they would probably very easily be able to track you down in your home since you work for them. It doesn't really make any sense in hindsight, but the movie's got to get going. We got to get going. And she's like, no problem. And so she leaves the elevator, and fucking Peter just does Three Stooges shit, like spills his coffee on someone, ties someone's shoelaces together, and they trip over themselves, and he kicks one guy in the ass, and he goes, all right, boys, I'll leave it to to Oscorp's best and brightest. And he walks away, and does a little heel kick in the air, chat. It's like, wow. Eventually, Chad, where are we now? Oh, yeah. We then go to the Ravencroft Asylum, Chad, which is very much the Arkham Asylum of the Marvel Universe. It's mostly featured in a lot of Spider-Man comics. And this is its first debut. I will say it's kind of cool to see the Ravencroft Asylum featured in a movie. It's also been in the Venom movies most recently. Both the first Venom and Venom Let There Be Carnage. It's where Cletus Cassidy is. There were some deleted scenes in this part of the film. You were supposed to see several prisoners here, notable Spider-Man characters. In particular, Cletus Cassidy. Jim Carrey was cast as Cletus Cassidy, chat. He filmed a scene, but it was cut out of the movie. And so they had set that up. So at one point, Jim Carrey was supposed to be Carnage, but it didn't happen. Like I told you, there is so much stuff that was in this movie that they just like, take it out. But we are with Electro, who is in this giant gurney device that's holding him in place, and his doctor is literally a Nazi. He's like, yes, Max Dillon, so good to see you. You will make a fine specimen. He's like, what are you going to do to me, Doc? What are you going to do? I shall extract your power and use it for Ravencroft experiments. There's no way you'll be able to do that, Doc. I'm so powerful. This whole building is powered by electricity. He's like, yeah, whole building's powered by electricity. Yes, that's the point. Yes, but I will control the electrical grid of New York City, and I will rule it. And he goes, yeah, why? Why do you think you will rule it? He's like, it's because I am Electro. He's like, Electro, I see, yeah. Well, you must like electricity. Like, I mean, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And he starts zapping him with electricity for some reason, because he's studying him? I don't know. And he does that, and then we cut. And we get out of there. I was like, I can't stand this scene. Ashley Kafka, a complete fuck up on the other character. Yeah, it's true. They changed the gender of the character. So in the comics, Kafka is a woman. And she runs Ravencroft, and they went with a Nazi scientist for this. I was like, okay. But when we cut, and then Aunt May is back in the movie. It's been 45 minutes since the last Aunt May scene. But she's knocking on the door. He's like, Peter, open up the door, Peter. And he's like, Aunt May, not now. I'm doing my Charlie Day from Always Sunny in Philadelphia impression. I'm coming in, Peter. And she enters the room. And she sees the wall, and he's like, Peter, why are you doing all of this? And he's like, Aunt May, you refuse to talk to me about my parents. I know nothing about Richard Parker. I know nothing about Mary Parker. Uncle Den was also cagey. I mean, why? Why have you, every time I've ever mentioned them, you always look down. You always talk shit about them. Why, May? Why? I'll tell you why, Peter. I'll tell you why now, as you know. Uncle Ben and I, we didn't have much education, Peter. We're not as smart as you. But we've raised you for all these years. And I remember the day that your mother and your father dropped you off here. And they've never called. They never checked on you. But I've always loved you. I've always loved you. And they never had the decency to raise you as we have. You're my son. And I will say, she gets emotional here. You're my son, Peter. You're my boy. I cleaned your snotty nose as a kid. I washed your dirty underwear, and I did it with love, Peter. Unlike your parents. And I don't want to see you hurt. Aunt May, what aren't you telling me? Years ago, a few weeks after your parents dropped you off, Peter, these Oscorp men came to our home, and they asked us if we knew anything about your father and mother. And they said that they were traitors, that they sold their research to the highest bidder, Peter. And I didn't know what to say. I assumed that was the case. I looked for the signs, but there was nothing. And that's why I've tried to protect you from the shame, Peter. And he's like, Aunt May, you're my mom, but why? You should have been honest with me. I know. I want you to be protected. And they give her this awful line where it's like, I'm just your dumb, not knowing how to have a job, Aunt May. And it's like, that's a bad line for Sally Field. But they hug and he kisses her. It's like, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's good. It's good. Eventually, we cut. She cuts, reveals the secret that apparently Richard Parker and Mary Parker, they're viewed as traitors, even though there's no articles about that. But it's like, okay. They sold the research from Oscorp to the highest bidder. And that's been that. And that's what's what happened. Eventually, we cut back to Harry, who is even more gross at this point. He's like Mary Goblin. He ate a lot of pizza last night, so he's like, he's been drinking a lot too. And he wakes up because, oh shit, Spider-Man is in his room. Spider-Man's like in his living room. And he's like, Spider-Man, you're here. And he's like, hey, Harry, Peter must have gotten in contact with you. He told you about how I'm turning into a zombie goblin. He goes, yeah, he told me that. Yeah. He goes, I just need some of your blood, Peter. It'll make me feel better. And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to give you any of that. He's like, why? Because it could kill you. Which is, Dane DeHaan has a great line here. It's both awful and so, it's awful but unintentionally funny, where he's like, well, I can't die even more. I'm already dying. And he's like, just give it to me. This is my only chance. He's like, yeah, no. He's like, why not? I just don't wanna. No. He's like, you're supposed to save people. I know, but no. He's like, you're no hero. You're no hero, Spider-Man. You're just like the rest of them. You're a murderer. And he's like, all right, bye, Harry. And he just swings out, and Harry's just fucking throws a fit. I understand, though. I understand. I would be pissed off, too. I would not be happy. And, Peter's like, well, I'm going to go meet with Gwen and see what she's up to. And Gwen reveals, hey, Peter, listen, I'm going to go to London. He's like, what are you talking about? Yeah, I'm going to pursue my education, biomedical field, get a big cushy job in the UK. Like, listen, we're getting together, breaking up. It's too much. I got to go. And he's like, I don't know about that. And she's like, listen, I'm going to the consulate. I don't know. She goes to this, I guess she's going to Oxford, and she's meeting with people from Oxford, and there's a whole bunch of British jokes and UK jokes in there. I'm skipping all that because it's not important. But he's like, Gwen, I wish you didn't because, And she's like, what do you mean, What do you mean, I? And she goes, I can't really say it because Dennis Leary is looking at me. And Dennis Leary is literally going, did you watch Rescue Me yet? And he says, no, I didn't. Are you fucking my daughter? Not right now. He goes, good. And he's like, okay, well, good luck she has to take like an oral exam. And he's like, oh, yeah, I know about that oral exam. She's like, shut up, Peter. And she's like, I'm going to go take my oral exam and see if I can get into Oxford. He's like, okay, cool. I'll see you later. Then we cut back to Harry Osborn, who is even more gross. He keeps getting grosser by the scene, chat. He's like, ugh. And all the corporate suits from Oscorp show up, and they go, hey, we're putting the blame of Electro on you. You erased Maxwell Dillon from the system, and you're a criminal now, Harry Osborn. You're fired from Oscorp. He's like, why is this scene happening? Because we got to get to the third act, and we don't know how to get to the third act. He's like, okay, fine. Well, I can show myself. Also, Felicity Jones tells him about Electro and how they have spiders. They have spider goo that could maybe help him. So you got those two things, Electro's in Ravencroft, and there's spider goo in the vault, in the Oscorp vault. And he's like, cool, I'm going to go get that. But then the suits come in and said, you're fired because you covered up this thing even though you didn't. It was us. So they're placing the blame on him. And he's like, well, I know the door. I've walked out of it all the time. So he exits, and he's like, I'm going to fucking go to Ravencroft and break out Electro so then we can get revenge together. And so he goes to Ravencroft, chat, and he gets in very easily. He's like, hi, my name is Harry Osborn. They're like, who? I'm the head of Oscorp. Well, right this way, sir. Please walk in. And so they let him through the first gate, and then the second gate's like, well, Mr. Osborn, we actually probably shouldn't let you in because, why? And he's like, okay. And he steals the guy's taser gun, and Harry just starts tasing all the guards. These are the worst fucking guards in this place. It's like, no wonder all the supervillains are breaking out. He tases 3 fucking guards. This Dane DeHaan, who is about 75 pounds soaking wet, takes these 6'5", 250-pound guards out, chat. Boom, boom, boom. It's like, okay, cool. And eventually he somehow gets to the Electro room, his prison cell, and he, Electro's kept in water constantly, so he uses his powers, where he lifts him up, and he goes, psst. Hey, Electro, Jamie, he's like, ah, and he like shocks him a little bit. He's like, ah, I'm awake. He goes, hi, I'm Harry Osborn. I've come to break you out. He's like, I should kill you. He goes, come on, Max, don't talk like that. You're not mad at me. You're mad at Spider-Man. He's like, Spider-Man? He's very mad about Spider-Man. He's like, yeah, man, Spider-Man. He's fucked us both over, okay? More than you could possibly think, all right? I'm going to break you out. And he's like, why should I trust you? He's like, because I knew about the eels and the electrical grid. You can have all that, man. New York's going to be your playground. I just need you to get me back into Oscorp so I can get Spider Goo and the Goblin glider, which I don't know how to fly, but we'll somehow figure out how to fly. And he's like, all right. Well, he doesn't know yet. He's like, I don't know. And then the guards, or the Nazi scientist, is like, why is that little boy inside? Kill the little boy. And he's like, Max, help me. I need you, Max. I need you. And Max is like, you need me? He's like, I need you, Max. Help me. He's like, you need me? And he fucking, that's all he needed, Chad. He just someone to believe him in. And he breaks out of his cell, and he becomes like, just electricity, and this is kind of cool, he shoots through all the bodies, he shoots through all the guards, and creating these giant fucking holes where their hearts used to be, just goes right through them, they all drop down dead, and he starts to reform, kind of like very Dr. Manhattan-esque. He's like, oh, and I'm like, oh, are we gonna see some blue Jamie Foxx Electro dick? We don't, because his shorts, for whatever reason, they're just there. So I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. But he shows up, and Harry's like, I knew you could do it, Max. He's like, one more thing. And he electrocutes the Nazi doctor, and he puts him in the apparatus, where I assume he fucking drowns, because it goes back into the water, and there was like no mouth apparatus there to keep him breathing. So I guess the Nazi doctor died. And he's like, okay, cool. Let's go team up. Eventually, Peter, he's mad about everything that's going on with Gwen, and he goes back home, and he takes the graphing calculator that was in his dad's bag, and it's like he does what we all want to do, Chad. He smashes the graphing calculator, even though it's like $250 fucking right there. But he's like, fuck this thing. I spent too much money. I didn't use it nearly enough in high school and college. It's a waste. Cracks it open, and it's filled with subway tokens. And he's like, wait a minute, subway tokens, Roosevelt, the subway. Oh, I know what this all is. My dad took over President Roosevelt's secret subway car, which he used in the 30s and 40s because he didn't want people to see him traveling around New York City because he had polio. Obviously. And I was like, okay. And so we go to the subway. And he goes to the condemned part of the subway, which should be probably historically, preserved since it was used by Roosevelt, but it's a secret. And he goes in there, and he puts a subway token in this one slot, and nothing happens. He's very mad. But then, out of the tracks, there's the presidential subway car emerges, chat. And he goes onto the car. I wonder if this subway car is going to come back, by the way. If they're going to feature it in No Way Home as his little base of operations. I figured this would probably be a good little secret base, if you will, for Spider-Man, but who knows. He goes inside. Everything is still working. It has electricity. Everything's on. He opens up a laptop, and it literally says upload complete. So from the plane, that's where it was uploading to, chat, was the secret Roosevelt subway base. That's what it was. And he opens it up, and it's all these videos and information on Richard Parker's research, and it reveals that how he did all this with Norman Osborn, who was dying, and he wanted to use the research not only to cure himself, but also to sell spider mutant things to evil people across the world. And Richard Parker's like, I don't want to sell spider mutant things to people across the world. And so that's why he escaped. And there's this video, he's like, oh, the world will think I'm an evil man and a traitor, but that's just Oscorp propaganda. I did this because Oscorp is in league with very dangerous people across the globe, and I will not have myself a part of it, my wife or my son a part of it, so that's why we're leaving him in the care of Uncle Ben and Aunt May, and we are going to abscond to Geneva, and we will live out our days, and hopefully we will bring Oscorp down for their horrible crimes. Norman Osborn has hired an assassin Hopefully he's not after us, right? Because that'd be bad. And, it's not great. Also, I love my son, Peter. Peter, if you're watching this, I'm sorry that I made this very confusing for you, but I hope you like the Subway Roosevelt base that I left you. Bye. And it's like, oh, God. And so Peter's crying because he's so sad and probably confused. He's like, emotion. Eventually, we cut back to the villains. Harry and Electro, they go back to Oscorp, and they kill all the guards, and I guess Felicia's not there anymore. I guess she's like, my scenes are done. I'm going to leave the movie. It's like, bye, Felicia. But they come back, and the evil corporate suit guy whose name you don't care about, he was like the faux leader of Oscorp before Harry took over. He's there, and Electro's like, you remember me. I am evil. I am mad. I don't like you. I'm Electro. And he has his dubstep playing in there the entire time, but also his dialogue has been repurposed again for the dubstep. And it's very weird, because the guy's like, who the fuck is talking? And Harry's just like, hey, how you doing? And he's like, I thought I kicked you out of here. He's like, well, I got some help. You're going to tell me where the spider goop is so I can put it inside my tummy and get rid of my zombie goblin disease. And he's like, I'll never do that. And Electro just fucking shoots him. He just shoots him right in the heart and kills him. And Harry's like, we're going to have to try that again. And like fucking Electro's just staying over him. And he does it's like fucking clear. Fucking, the CPR brings him back. He's like, he's like, okay, we're going to do this again. You're going to take me to the spider goop. All right. Or he's going to keep killing you over and over and over and over again and keep bringing you back to life over and over again. He's like, okay, I'll take you to the spider goop vault with all the Easter eggs. He goes, cool. I guess it's technically the Easter egg vault. And so they go, but Harry just says, all right, Electro, the city is yours. You can do whatever you want. He's like, really? He's like, yeah, man, I honored my deal. Yeah, take it. Oh, usually, we would backstab each other. He's like, why would he backstab each other? That's dumb. So I do appreciate in here that the villains don't go, I betrayed you. No. Dane DeHaan's Harry says, I made you a promise. Go for it. Go for it. He's like, cool. And so Electro starts taking over the city at this point. But Harry, he goes with the corporate suit guy into the Easter egg room. And they go to the facility, and, and Harry's like, what is all of this? And he's like, it's the future, Mr. Osborn, because it's the future of the franchise. Huh? And he opens up everything, and you see Dr. Octopus's tentacles. You see the Vulture's wings again. You see the Rhino suit. You see all this shit. And we see the Goblin glider in the suit. And then we see the spider goop room. He's like, yeah, spider goop. That's what I need. And so they go over to the spider goop room, and he's like, give me some of the goop. And he puts in the syringe and stuff. And like Harry's already shaking. He's looking even gross. He's like, put it inside of me. And he's like, okay. He's like, whatever happens, this could kill you. He goes, I'm already a dead man walking. And he puts him in the goop inside of him. And starts to clear up his infection. He's not shaking anymore. He's like, I can't believe it. You kept this from me the whole time. It was here the whole time. Oh, I'm feeling a little nauseous. Oh, and then he starts mutating even more. Because there's a big reveal. This is a big fucking weird reveal. I forgot about this. So the reason why the spider bite didn't kill Peter all those years ago when it bit him and gave him the powers is because the bioengineered spiders that Oscorp created were actually created by Peter's dad, Richard Parker. And Richard Parker put his own DNA in the spiders. And he literally says, these are the first human spider hybrids ever. And the only way, and they're all like that, and I've hidden my research so Oscorp can't replicate it, and the only way that you can cure various maladies or then give people superpowers is if they share my genetic structure. And so only my blood relatives can gain these abilities. If you are not my relative, then you will become gross. And that's what happens. That's what fucking happens. And that's what's happened to fucking Dane DeHaan. He's getting really gross. It just pushes his goblin disease into overdrive. And he looks like a troll doll. He looks like a little troll doll, Chad. Makes his hair all wispy and things. And it's like, they tried to do two things at once. They tried to make him where he's the more mutated looking Goblin from the Ultimate Spider-Man run. And they tried to do the classic Green Goblin from, like, you know, the original comics. And it's not a good combination. It's not good. But he's like, thankfully, I read earlier that the suit can heal me. I'm just going to waddle over to the suit. He puts himself in the suit. And he's really fucking mad, and he just flies off. Even though he's never used this technology before in his life, he's able to use the Geyser like it's fucking nothing. And it's like, okay. I hate that so much. It really goes against the idea of Peter being a regular guy who got bit by a spider and becoming a horror accident makes him the chosen one. And so fucking, yeah, he just, you know, this is all his destiny, man. It was destiny. The story you never knew about, which I guess technically it's true. Where are we? Oh, yeah, so... Peter's walking out of the subway at this point, and he's, you know, confused and sad and shit. But he gets a call from Gwen Stacy, and Gwen's like, hey, Peter, so I got into Oxford, and I'm going to London. Whoopee! Anyway, I'm breaking up with you again. I know this is like the 5th time we've done the movie at this point, but I'm sure the audience won't be annoyed by it at all. But I know this is kind of impersonal to do a phone call, but, you know, we've already seen each other, like, a lot of times now, and it would just get awkward because we'd probably just start kissing each other because we're, like, really cute, and we'd like to smooch. Anyway, bye! And he's like, I love Gwen Stacy. And so, we cut to Gwen Stacy. She's in the middle of traffic. And all of a sudden, everyone's like, hey, it's the spider guy. He's doing something on the bridge. And she gets out. She's like, stop the taxi cab. And the guy's like, we're not fucking moving. And because it's fucking gridlock. She gets out of the cab, and on the Brooklyn Bridge chat, we see in the webbing, it's something is spelled out, and it says, I love you. And she's like, oh my fucking God, I love him too. And he swings over, and he just picks her up. He's like, yay. Picks her up. They go over to the bridge, and he's like, did you see it? Did you see the message? She's like, what message? And he's like, the message I just made. That one. Yeah, it was cool. And he's like, yeah. So I fucking love you. It's like, yes, this is what I want. He's like, I love you. I want to be with you. Wherever you go, I want to be if you'll have me. And she's like, oh my God, I'm going to have all your babies. It's going to be awesome. He's like, yes, babies. Aunt May's going to love it. And he's like, you know, London, they got crime there, right? I'll go to London. I'll be the Spider-Man of London. She's like, it'll be really cool. It'll be really cool. We can hang out. We can have like our own apartment together. Oh, it's going to be great, Peter. And he's like, it will be, Gwen. It will be. We just got to survive the next 15 minutes of this movie. I'm sure nothing bad will happen. We then cut. And Electro has taken over the city. He has taken over the electrical eel grid, and he is sucking up all the power. Basically, in all of New York, Manhattan Island, the surrounding area is fucking dead. And he then projects a hologram of himself across buildings somehow, and he says, New York, I am your new king. Electro, you will bow to me. You will recognize me. You will know who I am. I am mad. I hate Spider-Man. He is dumb. Bum, 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 dubstep, 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 dubstep. Spider-Man's like, I hate dubstep. I'm going to fight Electro. And Gwen Stacy's like, well, you won't be able to fight him because your web cartridges keep exploding. He's like, right, but I don't know how to fix them. Did you try magnetizing them, Peter? I did not. Will that work? Yes. That's why you were second in your class and I'm first. And so they go to a cop car at one point. And they take jumper cables and they magnetize them. And so now they are completely immune to electricity, chat. Cool. And Gwen's like, I'm going to go with you and fight Electro. He goes, I want to make sure nothing bad happens to you. So you should probably just stay here, okay? She goes, no. And he webs her. And she's like, Peter. And she's like, ooh, which I thought was kind of funny scene. And he flies out, or he web swings out, and he battles Electro in the city, and he's zapping and shit, and dubstep, Spider-Man, Electro, and that's how it is. Eventually, they go to the power grid. Gwen eventually escapes because she has a pocket knife, and she just gets the webbing off, and she also runs the 57 blocks to the EO electrical grid. Spider-Man, he's then fighting Electro and everything, but he's kind of getting his ass kicked. Electro's pretty powerful. He's really strong. He's hitting with a lot of electricity. Gwen eventually shows up, and she's like, Peter, what do I do? I told you to stay out of this. I want you to be safe. I can't have anything bad happen to you because I'd be really sad. And she goes like, but you need me. And he's like, okay, listen, the electrical grid is shut down, but if you turn it on and I then use my webbing to create a current towards Electro, he will absorb so much electricity that he'll explode. And she's like, that sounds good to me. He's like, cool, so get up to the tower, the really old-looking clock tower, and which also serves as the electrical grid headquarters, and do what I told you. And she's like, cool. And so she goes up there while Peter battles Electro, and we get something that's so goofy where at one point, and I'm like, oh my God, I totally forgot about this. Electro, he does a dubstep theme of Itsy Bitsy Spider. The itsy bitsy spider crawled up the water spout. Down came Electro to take the spider out. That's what happens. That's what's, it's like, what? It's like, okay. And so, and Spider-Man's like, I hate that song. And they're battling. Eventually, Peter's like, I'm just gonna stand between these two electrical cables and just suck up all this electricity and put my webbing around it. So he webs up the electricity cables. This Electro's just like shooting electricity. And I'm like, you will die, Spider-Man. You will recognize me for my coolness. And he's like, okay. And he does the thing. And he's like, okay, Gwen, throw the switch. And she's like, cool. And so she throws the switch, and he shoots the electricity in the webbing, but it magnetizes it, so it bounces back at him. And he's like, too much, take it back. Take it, wooka, 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 take it back. Wooka, wooka, wooka. And he explodes and he dies. And so Electro is killed. And he has like a little booper on the side of his head, and it goes boop, and it shuts off. And Electro's defeated. Yay! The movie's over. Nope. It's not over, chat. Peter and Gwen, they meet outside, and they're like hugging. They're like, oh, we fucking did it. That's like so cool. Wow, I can't believe we did that. But oh no, chat, they hear. And Peter's like, who the fuck is that? And he's like, hello, Spider-Man. And the thing is, Jane DeHaan, he's the Green Goblin now, but he doesn't have the Willem Dafoe like laugh. He doesn't have that, MJ and I are gonna have a hell of a time. His laugh is more like he sounds like a chihuahua barking at you. And it's not as good. So I'm gonna do the Defoe voice because I like it better, Chad, instead of the I don't like that. But Spider-Man's like, Gwen, run back to the tower. I'll take this guy on. And the Goblin comes down. He's like, Spider-Man, the fraud, no hero of mine. And he's like, Harry, what have you done to yourself? The only thing I could do. You never know when a lunatic comes around, and you have to have a sadistic choice. Die or become a gross goblin zombie. I've chosen zombie. And he like starts to notice that like Gwen, he's like, is that Gwen? Gwen's over there. Spider-Man's over there. One over there. Two. Hello, Peter. And he's like, oh shit. He's like, you didn't save me. But every hero needs to make a choice. Keep your identity or let die the woman you love. And he fucking grabs Gwen. He's like, no, Harry, no. She's like, She's freaking out at this point, as you would, chat. And he goes all the way up to the clock tower, and he's like, yeet. And he fucking yeets her. He yeets her, chat. Peter's like, fuck, they yeeted my girlfriend. And he grabs her, and he fucking spin on the ground. They go through the fucking, the clock tower dome is all glass, which I'm like, that's probably dumb. But they go through it, and they're falling and tumbling and shit. And he's like, are you okay, Gwen? Because he takes the brunt of the fall. He lands on his back. And she's like, yeah, I'm okay. And then the Goblin's like, oh, look at you, Peter. Oh, so beautiful. Who would have thought you would have fought me in the third act? And Peter's like, it's okay, Gwen, I'm going to lower you down there. I'm going to fight the Green Goblin, whose name I just know now. And so lowers her all the way down to the fucking gears. And I was like, you probably should lower to the side like a ladder. But he's like, nah, you're going to be in the clock gears and cogs. While he fights with Harry, who, again, knows how to control the guy that, like the back of his fucking disgusting zombie goblin hand. And they're fighting and shit, but they're causing so much destruction. Eventually, Peter just kicks the goblin glider out from under him. They fall, causes more of the cogs and gears to get all messed up and stuff. And Gwen's gear that she's standing on falls. But Peter, he webs her. But the goblin, fucking Harry's like, I'm going to stab you, Spider-Man. He's like, ah. And Peter's like, Harry, stop here. She's going to die. You think I care? Did you care when I was going to die, best friend? And eventually he's like trying to stab him. But then Peter chokes him, like he gets him with a little bit of webbing, chokes him, and then punches him in the fucking face. But then all the gears start falling down, and Gwen starts falling, and you know the strength of the webbing shoots the Goblin back, knocks him out. Godspeed, Peter Parker. While Peter, he jumps after Gwen, Chad, but he's so far, she's been falling too long, too long. But he webs her, Chad, gets her on her little tummy area. He's like, I gotcha. Lands on a fucking bar. And we got probably the best part of the movie, Chad, which is like, and it's fucking, you feel it's like, ooh, where she's like, so close to the ground, and then fucking head hits the concrete. Ooh, and you hear, it's a wet fucking thunk. It's a wet thump, Chat. It's like, ooh. And when I saw this in theaters, I just went, uh-oh. And he's like, okay, Gwen, I got you. He goes down, and he sees her, and she ain't fucking moving. He's like, Gwen, are you okay? Are you okay? And he like holds her. He's like, Gwen, it's gonna be okay. It's done. We defeat Electro. We defeat you. It's okay. You can breathe, Gwen. It's okay. You can. And he fucking takes his hand behind. He's fucking covered in blood and brains. He's like, oh my God, Gwen. And she's like, blood's coming out of her nose at this point, eyes. And he's like, oh. And I will say, great job. It's fucking rushed. We went from Electro to Goblin fight to Gwen Stacy's death. But Andrew Garfield, he nails it. He nails this so much. It's the strongest scene in the movie. It's just a shame that it's in such a bloated, overlong film. Had it just been the three of them, had it been Harry and fucking Peter and their battle and dealing with his love for Gwen and trying to protect her and she wants to be there for him and it's that balance, it would have been amazing. And it's just rushed. But in this isolated scene itself, it's great. And you feel his sadness. You feel his sadness in this scene. And Andrew Garfield does a great job. And then cuts to the funeral where everyone's fucking sad. Gwen's mom. You know, she's just like, and Dennis Leary's there. Dennis Leary's ghost is there again. He's like, I fucking told you. Did you watch Rescue Me? I didn't watch Rescue Me. He's like, oh, Peter. Very upset. Everyone leaves. And it's just Aunt May and Peter there looking at the grave. Peter goes to the grave every fucking day for like 5 months. He hasn't been Spider-Man. He's mourning. He's just so sad. Crime is up. Everyone's just like, when will Spider-Man return? When will he come back? We need him. And like we're watching the news and like Peter's eating breakfast and he looks fucking miserable. He looks older too. Like Andrew Garfield, I will say, he looks fucking gaunt in these scenes. Maybe it's just because like, why is this movie the way it is? But he sells it. And he's eating breakfast. He turns off the TV. I'm going to go eat my cereal in my room. And she's like, Aunt May's like, are you okay? And he's like, what? Why are you asking me that? And he's like, well, I don't know. It's just, I'm doing the series. I got to do the Aunt May voice. Hold on. Sorry. Well, Peter, it's just that I noticed you're very sad. And the people of New York are mourning beside you. They have not seen Spider-Man in 5 months. And I wonder where he is. Do you know where he is, Peter? You take those pictures. And she's like, I know. They always beat around the bush. There's no doubt in my mind that at this point, fucking Aunt May. Oh, she gets some scene at the hospital too when she's saving people when Electro is taking over the city. It doesn't matter. She knows that Peter's Spider-Man. There's no doubt. She knows he's Spider-Man at this point. And the same thing with Rosemary Harris by Spider-Man 2. I feel like she knows Peter's Spider-Man, but she's not saying it. Remember that garage sale scene when she's like, this little boy is waiting for Spider-Man to come back. And it's like, come on. And I love how in the Holland films, Marissa Tomei's like, I know you're Spider-Man. It's like, oh, thank God. It's out of the way. And it's like, let's not be fucking cute and coy. But she's like, the whole thing is, and I love it. Her speech is this. And she's very blunt. And I'll give her this, chat. Where she's like, listen, Peter, we all mourn. I have never forgotten your Uncle Ben. I loved him. But I see his things every day, and I've made a box, and I've been putting them away. And I'm going to put it in the basement and get the fuck over it. And she basically tells him, get over it. And he's like, okay. And he's like, okay, I'll get over the death of my love of my life, sure. Meanwhile, we cut to Harry. We cut to the Gentleman. We cut to the Gentleman, who is the villain we saw at the end of the film. He was talking to Kirk Connors, where he's like, "Leave Peter Parker alone." And he's like, "No, no." But he goes to visit Harry Osborn, who's now in Ravencroft. He's a prisoner there now, a patient. And he's like, "Hey, Harry, hey, you're looking pretty good." And he's like, it looks like the spider goop's working. He's like, well, it comes and goes. He's like, "Oh, fair enough. Hey, do you want to start the Sinister Six?" He goes, "Yeah, but let's start slow. Let's not have too many villains at once." He's like, "Okay, so you want to do like, I don't know, Doc Ock? No, not Doc Ock, no. Vulture? No. Rhino? Oh, yeah, we can do Rhino. Yeah, I'll be good." He's like, "Okay, well, we have this guy named Alexei Smirnov. He's very Russian, and he loves rhinos. You think he'd be a good choice?" "Yeah, man, go for that. Put him in the suit." He's like, "Okay." And we see all the suits again. We see Doc again. We see Doc Ock's tentacles. We see the Vulture's wings, and we see the Rhino suit. And then we cut to the Rhino. Where they bring back Paul Giamatti, who's in and it looks awful, too. Like, they CGI, all of it. This looks bad. I see his little head, and it looks like he's floating in there. It's like, this doesn't look real. But he's like, "Yes, people of New York, you must bow down to the Rhino." And he's charging and shooting cops, and he's stealing money. And the city's like, "When will Spider-Man return to defeat this nefarious foe, the Rhino?" Remember when people thought he was going to be Norman Osborn? No, I don't. That would have been actually pretty good. But again, he would have got nothing to do except shit himself and look gross like Chris Cooper did. And Spider-Man sees this. He's like, fuck. But he's like, all right, I'll go. But we see on the news chat. Actually, no, it's when he's in downtown. He sees the fucking news footage of the Rhino. He's like, "I don't want to do it." But then we see remember that little nerdy kid in the movie who built the wind turbine? He gets dressed up as Spider-Man, and he's behind this barricade, and he totally just fucking yeets himself over. The mom's like, "My son! Someone save my son!" And he confronts the Rhino in his little Party City Spider-Man outfit. And the Rhino's like, "He's Spider-Man! Look at you, you're so small. Rhino is big. I am bigger than Spider. I will crush Spider Boy." Witness me. Nick Diaz just at the end of our review for The Amazing Spider-Man. The Rhino is going to crush Spider. Nick Diaz, good to see you. Hope you're doing very well, my friend. The backbone, the decommunicated, good to see you, man. Little kid's like, "You're me, Rhino. I'm gonna protect the city and protect my mom from villains like you." And all of a sudden, boom, the Rhino's like, "Oh." He starts to be really scared at that point. And we see behind the kid is fucking the Spider-Man. He's like, "Hey, Spider-Man, how you doing? How about you do a favor for me, okay, buddy? Why don't you go protect those people and go protect your mom while I go deal with this chump over here? Sound cool?" And he goes, "Yeah, I knew you'd come back, Spider-Man. You're a hero." He goes, "Thanks, little man." Boom. And I like this moment. Boop. Fucking little fist bump. And the little kid goes back to this, like, "Spider, I have Rhino suit. You have pajamas. You cannot defeat Rhino." And it's like, all right. Okay. I'm going to get on a megaphone. He's like, "Listen, Smirnov, will you surrender?" "I will not surrender to you, Spider-Man." He's like, "Good enough for me. All right, boys, let's go." And he fucking swings forward, chat. The Rhino starts charging. The Rhino charge, yes. And he gets the manhole cover and goes, whoop, and thwips it right, thwip, chat. Thwips right at the guy. Then we cut, and that, my friends, is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. There are a lot of alternate endings to this movie. One of the big alternate endings, chat, was going to take place in the middle of winter when Peter was at the grave of Gwen Stacy. And who walks up behind him? His dead fucking dad. So there was going to be a scene where they brought back Richard Parker, who has his big bushy beard, and he's been in exile for all these years, but he learns that Peter is Spider-Man somehow, and he's been watching him. "I've been watching you fly away." He's been watching him, chat, fly away for a decade. And apparently when they did test screenings of this, audiences were like, "What the fuck? That's stupid." And they got rid of it. I mean, I understand, one that's like, holy shit, his dad's alive. But the other thing, too, is like, you never tried to contact your son. I was like, whoa. So I get that. I get by the action. So they had this other ending, too, where Aunt May was just like, "Get the fuck over it, okay, and be Spider-Man." He's like, all right. And that's The Amazing Spider-Man 2, chat. Again, and occasionally a good moment. some highlights of the film. I talked about them. Some of the action scenes are fun. The chemistry between Andrew Garfield and Gwen is great, even though they have this weird, like, I'm breaking up with you, I'm in love with you, I'm breaking up with you, I'm in love with you. And the last scene between Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone is great when she dies. I really, they handled that well. It's rushed as fuck, and it's annoying, but it is in the moment, in the isolated moment, it's great. But yeah, this movie suffers from the same problem as Spider-Man 3 does. As I said before, it's too many fucking villains. You don't really get to know anyone. Their motivations are rushed. They have little motivation. Subplots and the main plot is undercooked. There's too many characters. And it acts as a springboard for franchises. The other spin-off films, the Sinister Six movie, which they plan to do of Drew Goddard, Venom movie, and everything else, Black Cat. And it's like, what? It's too much. And this feels like a waste. Is this as bad as Spider-Man 3? I don't know. I think Spider-Man 3 to me is still worse. I still think that movie is the worst live-action Spider-Man film we got. This is definitely the second worst, if I were to say. But like the rating for it, I don't know. High some old bullshit? Like again, that Gwen Stacy scene, that's the thing. And so maybe I gotta give it like a low rental again. Maybe it's like the lowest of rentals. Or maybe the original one, I'm like, I don't know. Because this one I think is weaker than the first one to a degree. So I don't know. Chat. I'm caught between a super low rental and a high some. I'm gonna give it a high some old bullshit. There you go, chat. Yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess, chat. It's a mess. Thank you, by the way, to the Harbor one for the 50 biddies. Imagine if Amazing Spider-Man 3 happened and it was just more of the run. The Rhino! I am back. You thought you saw the last of Alexei Smirnoff Rhino. You wrong. I have returned to fight Spider. And it's like, oh boy. Is he going to be in No Way Home? Oh, I saw Carmi Hazel in here before. Are you here, Carmi Hazel? Did you like the review? Peter, I look like a little children's toy. Oh, my God. Ghost Dad was right. Ghost Dennis Leary was right. And he should watch Rescue Me. Oh, my God. So I hope you enjoyed the review, chat. This was fun. This was a good fun. That was fun. Thank you, Glee. Thank you. And thank you for the 50 biddies, too. Snow. Oh, this movie isn't forgettable except the Rhino. You liked Raimi's third Spider-Man movie, more Lakota? To each their own. Oh, Lord. Got it. We got someone hosting as well. Thank you, Vanispheres, for the host. Van, you want to play some It Takes Two? I'm fucking exhausted, but let's play it, man. Sorry, I just came from taking a crap. I'm Mr. Green. I'm talking crap. Chris Ayers, thank you to me. This guy crashing on Night Juice. I understand, Chris Ayers. Have a great night. Thank you for stopping by the stream. Thank you. Let's do it, baby. Let's fucking do it. Christmas. I'm Mr. Snow. Thank you so much. Thank you, Vancouver, for the 4-base. Have Disney pop up No Way Home, ask all 3 pairs if they're watch Rescue Me. That's all I want. That'd be amazing. That'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Or he's like in the background, like always watching, and they're watching me. Fly away. Oh. I'm glad. I hope you will. Other than the crap, I hope you enjoyed yourself, Carmi Hazel. This definitely could make a better Rhino suit. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what they could do. Okay, so she controls your fate. It's true. I haven't seen that in a while. Oh my Lord, Chad. Yeah, let's go ahead and do some It Takes Two. I gotta go to the bathroom. I gotta go potty. Speaking of taking a crap, I gotta go potty. And we're going to come back and do some It Takes... Vanny, if you still want to, I know it's late, man. I'm sorry about that. Technical difficulties, my fault. Do you want to play some It Takes Two? Let me know. I'll get you on the Discord. We'll play some more. And we'll have to... I know after this, you're going to be in an Endwalker for a while. Oh, it is... Oh, that's true. That's right. You're in California. So it's like, it's 9. It's 9 for you. So, yeah, you're good. All right, we'll do that. So I'll get you in here. We'll play some It Takes Two. Maybe like 2.5 hours. And then we'll return to it one day. Okay, cool, chat. So I'm pooping time. Yep, pooping time, chat. I've enjoyed both. Thank you. It's nice. It's very good. I'll be right back, chat. Entertain yourselves amongst yourselves and stick around.